Good morning, ST, and your entourage. I'm Emmanuel Tembo. I'm the Acting Deputy Auditor General in charge of audits. Chair, I'm accompanied. I'll allow my colleague to introduce themselves.
Okay. AG's office.
Good morning. My name is Luvinda Sinyani from the Planning and Research Department in the Office of the Auditor General. Thank you.
Minister of Finance. Is it AG's office or Finance?
Minister of Finance.
Okay, you can also introduce yourself.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Honorable Members. My name's David Kongwa from the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. I'm equally accompanied.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members of the committee. Good morning, ST and your team. My name is Oscar Nyerenda from the Office of the Accountant General.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, honorable members of Parliament. Good morning, ST, and good morning, Accountant General, Controller of Internal Audit, PS, and Directors. My name is Jeffan Siame from the Office of Controller of Internal Audit as a permanent witness. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister of Local Government.
Thank you, Chairperson, and the honorable members of your committee. Secretary to Treasury, Accountant General, Permanent Secretary of Local Government, and the accompanying entourage. I'm Kazinga Kennedy from Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everyone. My name is Joyce Kubansa from Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Thank you.
Behind there is Parliament staff. You can introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Innocent Lishita from the Office of the Clerk.
Clerk's office.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Chileshe from the Office of the Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Maxwell Cheka from the Office of the Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tokozile Chaponda from the Office of the Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, to you. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, our permanent witnesses. Good morning, ST and the PS. Good morning. You're welcome. I am Chirimboy Elijah from the Office of the Clerk of National Assembly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable member from Fumbwe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning. Good morning, honorable colleagues. Good morning to all our permanent witnesses and the ST and team. Good morning, and you're welcome to your committee. My name is Elliot Kamondo. I'm a member of Parliament from Fumbwe.
Mitete.
Chair, thank you so very much. Secretary to Treasury, sir, you are welcome, and your team. Mutelo Mishek, MP for Mitete. We love it, sir, when we say, release the man, and it is released. For the first time, things are working. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can see ST smiling. Quite encouraging. Doc?
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, ST and your team. I am Honorable Dr. Aaron Mwanza, Member of Parliament for Kaumbwe constituency in Petoke District of the Eastern Province. You're most welcome to your committee on local government accounts. Thank you.
Honorable from Mangango.
Thank you so much. You have already introduced Honorable for Mangango, Mwene Lohamba. Good morning to you, Chair. Morning, fellow honorable members of Parliament. Morning, our permanent witnesses. Morning, ST. Morning, AG, PS, local government, and everybody else. This is Mwene Lohamba, Member of Parliament for Mangango. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Singombe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, my colleagues. Good morning, our permanent witnesses. Good morning, ST and your entourage. I'm Singombe Edgar, representing the people of Dundomwezi in Kalombo. You are welcome. Thank you.
Siavunga.
Chairperson, good morning. Morning with permanent witnesses. ST and your team, good morning. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Mulonda Darius, Member of Parliament for Siavonga constituency and the member of this committee. Chairperson, I thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to you. Good morning, honorable members of the committee. Good morning to our permanent witnesses. Good morning to you, the Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Felix Nkulukusa, the PS local government, and your team. You are welcome to Mandevu constituency, where I'm privileged to represent the good people of Mandevu as their member of parliament. My name is Christopher Shakafuswa. I'm the vice chairperson of the committee. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, ST and your team. My name is Honorable Mishek Mtetwa Nyambose, representing the wonderful people of Chasefu constituency in Eastern Province of Zambia. And I'm privileged, ST, to chair your committee. Once again, you're welcome. But before we go into the detail, you must be aware that we are live on both TV and radio. And just a word of encouragement and to congratulate you. The entourage is gender balanced. And it's good that women are taking space in leadership. You have beaten us as your committee. We are a male ward. As you see the composition from the vice chair to Kamondo, we shall do better next time. With that said, ST, you can take us through your report and we can open our interaction later.
Thank you very much, Chair and members of the committee. I am presenting a report on the Auditor General on the audit of accounts for local authorities for the year ended 31st December 2023. And this is in accordance with the provision of Article 250 of the Constitution of Zambia and Local Government Act number 2 of 2019, the Constituency Development Fund number 11 of 2018, and the Public Financial Management Act number 1 of 2018. These are the provisions that the Auditor General used to produce this report. And I just wish to say that we do not the Auditor General's mandate in accordance with the provisions, and we appreciate the fact that the Auditor General reviewed the management of public funds in order to ascertain whether they were utilized for the purposes they were intended. We also continue to sensitize local authorities in public financial management legislation in order to enhance compliance, and obviously this is a continuous process. Chair, in terms of the audit scope, the scope that the Auditor General did covered the accounts and records of local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2023 as I earlier indicated, and in some cases observations that were required updating were as at 31st October 2024. Chair, again, just to say that the Treasury do understand and appreciate the Audit General's scope and methodology in undertaking the audits. Chair, in paragraph 3, the Auditor General has made some, identified some constraints and made some comments against each of the constraints. The first one being the issue of transport, and that the office has presence in all the 10 provinces in the country, and the nature of the operations requires traveling to all the districts, including far-flung areas with bad terrains. That during this period, obviously, they have always had challenges with transport, and just to note, Chair, that we appreciate, and we have been working very closely with the Auditor General to try and ensure that we address some of these challenges. Chair, I often say this, that when I was a junior economist in the Ministry of Finance and I was sitting as financial advisor on the negotiating committee with the mining companies, and the lawyer for most of the mining companies was Elias Chipimo Jr. And as we were negotiating these development agreements, Elias Chipimo Jr. always told me this, that you can eat an elephant as an individual, only if you take a bite at a time. If you want to eat the entire elephant at once, it's not possible. But if you take a bite at a time, it will take you some time, but you'll be able to manage to eat it. We think taking a bite at a time, we are going to resolve some of these problems or most of these problems. If we think that we can resolve them at once, that may not be possible, Chair. The other observation, Chair, was on the issue of information and communication technology equipment. And the Auditor General is saying that equipment from government and cooperating partners were appreciating receipt of that, and they still note that there are gaps, and we fully appreciate, and we work closely with them to ensure that we provide what we can. And obviously, we always encourage to say, how can we best optimize what we have, even before we look at getting additional equipment, if we can best optimize, and from that optimization that we can then be able to have other resources that will be able to go and address the challenges of the majority of Zambians. Chair, as you are aware, that we are mostly sustainable to external shocks. We had the war in Russia and Ukraine in the Middle East. That obviously is getting the resources. We have the drought that we experienced in 2024 where we need the intervention. And the question we ask ourselves, how can we build the resilience so that we can be able to address some of these? In some countries, Chair, they would talk about creating some fund where you say every year, can we save for a rainy day, and we create whatever you can call it, you create a fund that you'd be able to use. This means that we need to be prudent in the resources that we have to make sure that we can prepare ourselves for that. But that notwithstanding, we need to make sure that at least the minimum requirement that our colleagues, particularly our oversight committees, the Auditor General, should be able to have that so that we can ensure that the resources we have is put to good use. The methodology is the next paragraph under paragraph 4, Chair, and the Auditor General obviously talks about the audit being conducted in accordance with the international standards for supreme audit assurance, and these standards obviously looking at the challenges that is there. Sometimes they do make sure that they look at the risk areas and they concentrate the resources in those risk areas, and we think that that is the prudent way of using the resources, and we appreciate that the Auditor General is doing that. In terms of the risk assessment, Chair, the Auditor General says that the process included meeting with audit committees, financial and other key personnel of the auditee. It also involved reviewing the financial reporting implications arising from the strategic goals, objective, business plans, and risk areas. And Chair, again, just to appreciate and take note that this is being done, and that from the Treasury we will commit to ensuring that there is integrity, there is transparency, and there is responsible stewardship of public funds as we implement this. The next, Chair, the Auditor General raised the issue of evaluation and internal controls, and obviously in there they looked at some of the issues that might help us. That includes the identification of types of misstatement that could occur, whether due to error or to fraud, evaluation of the internal control deficiencies that may increase the risk of material misstatement, and the issue of designing of internal control testing strategies where such approaches would be appropriate, Chair. Again, we take note of the evaluation of internal control of local authorities during the audit, and we wish to assure you that we will be strengthening these audit controls across all spheres of government, and this will be an ongoing process, Chair. In terms of the audit testing, the Auditor General did indicate that their audit approach focused on efforts, focused their effort on those financial statement assessments that have an increased risk of material misstatement. And based on their understanding and knowledge of the auditee, they expect to perform a combination of tests of control, detailed substantive testing, and analytical procedures, Chair. Again, just to take note of the testing that was conducted by the Auditor General, which ensured that the financial management system in local authorities has the sufficient controls to deter and detect fraud. The findings play a critical role, Chair, in presenting a true and fair presentation of what is obtaining in these local authorities. And in conclusion, Chair, as they were concluding the report, the Auditor General says that this is normally done in a management letter to the auditee, and that the ISSAI allows for the verbal communication as an alternative method. The management letter would describe the misstatements clearly, and where appropriate include recommendations. And Chair, always the Auditor General would then give this management letter to the auditee, and the auditee to respond, and if the auditee provides the information, they will normally get back, and whatever the auditee information that has provided, when they are satisfied, they drop the issue, and the only issue that then finds itself in the audit report is where the colleagues, the auditee, have failed to provide sufficient information, Chair, and this is what comes to the report of the Auditor General. Again, Chair, just to note and appreciate that this allows for the committees to have opportunity to respond to this. What we have noted, Chair, is that when this is given, most times we see that the auditee or the controlling officer normally would not provide themselves with time to be able to look at this. And once it comes into the audit report, that's when we see everyone panicking to try and bring this to the table. This is not the right thing, Chair. I was controlling officer from 2012 to 2015. And I appeared before the committee only in 2012 because I was appearing for the audit report for 2011 before I became controlling officer. When I was controlling officer in the Ministry of Finance, I never had an audit report in for 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Even when I left, the colleague that succeeded me did not have any audit report. And the only reason was that I made sure as a controlling officer that when the auditor was coming with the entry meeting, I was part of that meeting and I understood what they were looking for, and I supervised my officers to make sure that we provided the information. And when the Auditor General was going with an exit meeting, again I made sure that I was part of that meeting, and I could liaise with the Auditor General's office to make sure that if I was busy on the day they had the exit meeting, that we agreed to move that exit meeting to a time that I was there, and I made sure that the officers would then be able to respond to that. And we saw it worked. But most of the time that the Auditor General, and I'm sure this is a common complaint that they raise, that the only time that the auditee would respond is when now there's an audit query and they are coming to appear here. And sometimes they will come to appear here with the documents. And the Auditor General says they didn't find the document, and the auditee comes here with the document, and you ask yourself a question. Why did they wait to bring the documents to the committee instead of giving the documents to the Auditor General? So that only where there is a difference are the audit queries that should find themselves in the report. And we are hoping that we'll be able to achieve this. Chair, we have been working with our colleagues, with the cooperating partners, and we even worked with the World Bank, and we have got a project on devolution where we are saying how can we prepare local authorities to be able to handle themselves. And we are hoping that we have been doing this work in we started in 2023, 2024, and we are hoping that as we are going to 2025, we start implementing. We may not get it 100%, Chair, but we are hoping that we'll have a trajectory that is positive that will be taking us towards achieving a pass mark. In academia, probably you say a pass mark of A or A+, so that we can reduce on these audit queries, Chair. Chair, I go to paragraph 6, establishment and mandate of councils. Again, here the Auditor General is basically just talking about the councils that are being established under Article 152(3) of the Constitution and what the mandates of the council are, and we take note of that. And then paragraph 7, Chair, they are talking about the governance and basically talking about how the governance structures of the councils are. We have the elected mayor or chairperson depending on the type of the council, then elected ward councillors, and no more than 3 chiefs representing chiefs in the district elected by the chiefs in that district, Chair. Again, this we note, Chair, and we agree that this is in accordance with the provision of the law. Paragraph 8, Chair, is talking about management, and they are basically talking about how city or municipal councils and town councils are managed. Again, Chair, we take note and we agree that the auditor has raised the issues in accordance with the provision with the law. Chair, paragraph 9 is talking about the source of funding. Where do these councils get the money that they use for their funding? Some of it coming from the Treasury, some of it coming from their own resources, some of it coming from the Constituency Development Fund, and again, Chair, we take note of that. Paragraph 10, the Auditor General is talking about information and communication technology, and they are talking about local authorities operating various information and technology systems to manage their payroll, billing, and preparation of financial statements, such as the Dove, the PalmSoft, and the Baxtel. Chair, again, we take note and agree and appreciate the Auditor General's revelations in there. Paragraph 11, Chair, the Auditor General is talking about financial reporting framework. And again, they are basically just saying that the councils have adopted the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, and that these are on cash basis as it's a framework for financial reporting, and that the councils have also adopted the local authorities accounting policies, which are a set of accounting policies that provide guidance on the preparation of the financial statements for local authorities. Again, Chair, all we are trying to do here by providing these standards, by providing the framework and providing the policies, is to make sure that we simplify work, we have the standard reporting, and we can easily merge these reports and can easily then do some analysis and make informed decision, Chair. On paragraph 131, Chair, the Auditor General is making recommendations, and among the recommendations that the Auditor General is making, the first one is that there is need for timely achievement of annual targets, and that councils should ensure that set annual targets are met within the stipulated times. Chair, we note this recommendation, and we agree that we need this. This is why we prepare a budget. This is why we prepare a framework, and this is why we need to achieve. Because when we set the macro economic targets, Chair, to try and posture the country on the trajectory to achieve the vision that we have as a country of becoming a prosperous middle income, we basically are saying each one should contribute to this. And in contributing, Chair, time is of essence, because this vision, the plans we have are time limited. The budget we have are time limited. If we miss the time, it means that we don't achieve that, Chair. And we are working with the local authorities, with our colleagues in the Ministry of Local Government, to ensure that we have this. And we are also working with them, including ensuring that their performance, there's a performance assessment framework which our colleagues have put in place, and I'm sure at an appropriate time my colleague from the Ministry of Local Government will be able to speak to that and how we make sure that we achieve this. Obviously, the main issue, Chair, that comes is, we have always said this, why haven't we acted? What is happening to the people that are failing to achieve this? What punishment should we give them, Chair? What we have realized, Chair, is first and foremost that we need to build a team. And in building a team, it's that we need to allow, first and foremost, for everyone to come together, to make sure that everyone buys into the vision, to make sure that everyone responds. And once we have this framework, or we have got this base, Chair, and we start implementing, then we'll be able to say, are there some rotten groundnuts in there? And if we find them, then we should be able to pick them out and make sure that the system moves. And this is what we are doing, Chair, with the local authorities. The next, Chair, recommendation is that economic utilization of project funds, that funds allocated for projects should be used efficiently with effective management practice in place to ensure the desired outcome and maximum social and economic impact. Chair, I must admit that this is one of the major challenges we have with the human resource in the public sector. I told you that we are doing a project with the World Bank, and we said, in order for us to be able to grow this economy, we think the local authorities are a critical component. Central government may be able to do it, but development takes in localities. And in order for localities to start pushing, we need the local authorities on board. And this is why we agreed and convinced the World Bank to help us with the resources to undertake this project in local authorities. Chair, I was talking to the World Bank, and they told me that now when they said that, okay, local authorities, here's the money, can we make a work plan? 95% of the resources are being planned to be taken for workshops, for capacity building, trainings, and for touring, checking on the projects. 95% of the resources. Obviously, that does not give us the results we want. In 2021, Chair, we wanted to assure that when we introduce the grants to education, when we introduce free education, in 2022, we then agreed that we needed to make sure that the teachers, the schools, are aware of what we are doing. And the colleagues from Ministry of Education at that time, they came to us with Accountant General, and they gave us a budget that to undertake that activity to train teachers so that they are aware of what we are doing. They needed 35 million kwacha. And we told them we didn't have 35 million kwacha because we wanted that 35 million kwacha to go into actual work. And we sat with USAID, Chair. We knew that we had virtual meetings. We sat with USAID, and we used only, I think it was 1.6 million kwacha to buy talk time to facilitate those that do not have, that are in places where there is no internet, to move to where there is internet, and we undertook that training. And we reached out to a massive number of teachers. And when I went to Southern Province to, for a commemoration of my young brother at Rusangu University, the headmaster for Rusangu University told me, for the first time, he knew his role as headmaster in public financial management because we reached out to him. If we had used the Land Cruiser model, this money probably would have ended in the people in Lusaka that would have even gone and forged the documentation that a number of people attended the meetings. But we had a feedback that told us that this is the best option that we had to do. We have the resources from the World Bank, 98% of the resources. Now they want those resources to go not into the program implementation, but into building the capacity for the people that will do the program implementation, leaving no money basically to implement the program. Then why are we building that capacity? So that is some of the challenges that we face, Chair. And we think this challenge probably calls for a cultural remodeling. Probably because, I mean, you know, there are times when people get used to that type of life and they think that is how it should be. We need to make sure that we change this perspective. I don't know whether the secretary to the Treasury alone will manage. I don't know whether the government alone will manage. I don't know whether the local authority alone will manage, but I think it's something that needs concerted effort. That all of us should be able to say what should we do. And we are determined, Chair, and we'll make sure that we achieve this. Compliance with procurement procedures, Chair. The local authorities must ensure strict adherence to procurement regulations and contractual provisions to enhance accountability and transparency. Chair, this is again one of the major issues. 10 to 15% of our budgets or 15% of our GDP goes into procurement. And if there are leakages into procurement, we have this. Initially, we had the central tender procurement where a few PSs with the procurement agency would sit and do the procurement on everything. We then agreed that we decentralize this and we have procurement entities in each of the institutions that do their own procurement, and then that we should then have the oversight being provided by ZPPA. So ZPPA now provides an oversight on the procurement we're doing. But probably something that we are looking at again, because I'll give an example of EGP, electronic government procurement, where ZPPA designed the EGP, and they are supposed to help the procurement entities to procure. And if EGP fails, ZPPA are supposed then to monitor and make sure that the AGPP is failing, and if it fails, ZPP are supposed to provide the corrective measures on that system. So they design the system, they monitor the system, and they make sure that they enforce that. And sometimes, Chair, sometimes genuinely so, the system would fail. And obviously then ZPPA are supposed now to check themselves, have they done a good job. Sometimes it's difficult for them to say, sorry, we did a bad job there. They would always probably say they did a good job, and probably behind it they try and to go and fix this. And we have seen this EGP system sometimes failing us, Chair. There are some times where you put lots on the EGP system, and we had a case recently where you put lots on the EGP system, and someone is supposed to bid along the lots, and then the system opens for one lot, and once you finish with that lot, it doesn't give you an opportunity to open for other lots. It means you lose out on the other lot, and it doesn't work well. And obviously we are trying to work with ZPPA, and we have a project with this ZPPA with the EU that is trying to help us to try and say what should we do should we probably start talking about having a different institution? And we have said this before, that when you look at the accountant, we have got the accountant general that provides standards, that provide policy, that provides training, and the line institution then would be able to get this information, they go and implement, and then they oversee what happens with the line institution. Is it something that we need to do as we are looking at ZPPA? And this is what we are doing now to try and do an evaluation, or is it something that within the ZPPA we can try to do separation of powers and they should be able to give us this system that works? But what is cardinal, Chair, is that this system should work. Because if it doesn't work, we go backwards. The reason we moved from what we are doing, it was because it wasn't working. And we cannot go back to something that was not working. We should go forward to look for something that is working. And we think this system should work. But because of those challenges, we have realized that some people now are deliberately not using the system. We were told, for instance, that I think it was in Kafu or Chilanga constituency, under the CDF, an officer just said, I'm not going to use the system because this system is complicated, and they don't do the procurement. And the reason they are saying this is because if they go into the EGP system, someone else probably may get the tender and not the people they want. Now, we have got these challenges. The system has got a problem, yes, but we have got acceptability of the people to the system. How do we make sure that the system works? And this is what we are working on with ZPPA to ensure that this system works. Robust record-keeping systems, the Auditor General is talking about developing and implementing a reliable mechanism to maintain data integrity and to prevent the loss of vital information. Again, Chair, one of the issues we are doing in government, and we are extending this to local government, and even when I was a consultant, I even did some work with the GIZ program for finance, they call it good governance program. If we have got a system, an automated system, we should be able to have all this information. If we have got a manual system and you want some information, you have to go on different files. And some of the things we have discovered is that if the system is manual and the Auditor General is looking for documentation, and the person who is supposed to provide the documentation, the voucher relates to the thing that they did, that they will remove that document and hide it so that they are not exposed that they are the one that undertook that. And therefore, we find some of this. Sometimes it's just you put a file, obviously the file doesn't talk, and in Ministry of Finance, almost every week, we have got a container full of files that we are offloading. And for that file to be found that you have offloaded, you have to go into that container that you find that file. And we are supposed to keep these records, is it for 6 years or 10 years? And you can imagine the entire government stores along Mungu Road is full of these documents. But if we had an automated system, Chair, this would be a thing of the past because information will be at the fingertip. And this is why we are talking about automation, we are talking about the government service pass for payment, and we are talking, and we started this project, and we had started doing with the Ministry of Lands to make sure that all the records in the Ministry of Lands are automated, and that if you apply for land, there will be no longer paperwork and we'll be doing automation. Again, Chair, I always say this, that sometimes it's the determination that we lack. Because I was giving an example of South Sudan. I was doing consultants in South Sudan. And every time I was there for 6 weeks and I was asked to come back for 1 week because it was a non-family mission, my family remained in Zambia. And every time they gave me a single entry visa, and every time I applied for a visa for the period that I was there, I never met the immigration people. I did it online. And when I answered the questions right, it gives me a tick and it gives me a letter from the chief immigration officer saying, you have succeeded, pay for your fees. I go online, I pay the fees, the following day I have got a visa and I travel. This is a country that was born in 2009. We were born in 2064. Surely we can catch up with some of these things. 1964, sorry. Thank you. Addressing human resource deficiencies. So, Chair, one of the things we have seen in local authorities is that obviously there were human resource deficiencies. The numbers, I think, are even more than the requirement, but the competences are the ones that are lacking. You find that at a council, there's one vehicle, there are 15 drivers. Those 15 drivers won't do anything.
Yeah.
But the bigger challenge is that, again, is the coordination. How do we coordinate with the councils? Who should decide who to employ and when to employ? In the public service, at least we are seeing this happening. If we have got a challenge in Ministry of Finance, we write it to Public Service Commission to say we have a challenge, we want these people, and they will be able to employ for us. In the council, unfortunately, it's not like that. The second challenge, and we have always complained about this, we have got a lot of cooperating partners that are helping us. And the cooperating partners identify these are the accounting staff, these are the planning staff, these are the auditors, and we want to undertake this project in these councils so that we improve the capacity. And they do the training for 6 months. These auditors, accounting staff, everyone is now competent. They can undertake that project. Then transfers come. There are new officers that go in that position. And obviously for those new officers, they need to be trained again. And therefore, we lose time on the project. It's a question of how can we be able to make sure that there is some predetermination on when these transfers are done, so that even when we are making these programs, whether it's at the center, whether it's at the council of what we want to do, we know that there will be sustainability, and we then create a succession plan so that we don't fail to achieve that. But then there is a thin line. Does that mean that then we are trying to step on the Local Government Service Commission to do, not to do the work they are supposed to do? Or do we want to start directing them what to do? Or it is an issue of coordination on what should be done, particularly between the Local Service Commission and the councils themselves, because they have got the program they are undertaking and they need to achieve, Chair. Chair, the other observation is the local authorities should establish and utilize integrated development plans to effectively guide their development agendas and priorities. And I think we are doing well on this one, and we are making sure that all councils are using this integrated development plan, and those that are not ready, those that don't have the capacity, we are trying to see how we build the capacity in them, and we are hoping that with this then we can have some link between the plans that are being developed downwards with the plans that are being developed at the center, in order for us to all contribute towards the vision of becoming a prosperous middle-income country for Zambia, Chair. Management of Local Government Equalization Fund, Chair, the observation is that the principal officers must ensure that local government equalization funds are managed in a strict compliance with the applicable guidelines. I had a meeting, Chair, just yesterday, and we are trying to check what happened. I'm sure you are aware of what happened in Kapirimposhi, yes, where a team of officers, and incidentally, the controlling officer, the town clerk, was not a signatory, and they were signing and siphoning money without the controlling officer being aware. Until one day, the bank looking at this transaction and they were suspecting it. Then they called the controlling officer and said, we have got this payment. What is it? Are you aware of it? Should we go ahead? And then they went into the system, because the controlling officer was looking at the system. That payment was recorded in the system. And that's when the controlling officer then said, okay, can you give me a bank statement of what you have? And he got a bank statement, and they went and compared on the system, and they realized that all the money that was being stolen was not being reflected on the system. So when they were reporting to the controlling officer, they were reporting a balanced budget, but there were money that was being siphoned that was not reported on the system. Again, these are issues of how do we make sure that we have got the human resource that respond to this, but how do we put the systems in place that would be able to deter such things, or that will be able to use to detect such things before they materialize. And that is one of the issues that we are looking at, Chair. Chair, let me end with the recommendation that was made by the Auditor General, that the unresolved recommendations of the Committee of Local Government Accounts stated in the report on outstanding issues, and that these outstanding issues in this report do not include outstanding matters in the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of local government for the year ending 31st December 2018, 2019, and 2020, as the action taken report from the Ministry of Finance and National Planning had not been adopted by the by Parliament at the reporting date. And Chair, our comment is that we note the Auditor General's concern, and that the Treasury will take deliberate measures in ensuring that the unresolved issues made in previous reports of the Auditor General are addressed, and that we commit that we'll be having meetings with the Auditor General, Office of the Accountant General, Office of the Controller of Internal Audit, and that we'll make sure that we find solutions that will address these issues, and we give ourselves a date of 31st July 2025, Chair. I thank you.
Thank you very much, ST, for that elaborate presentation, and you have really moved our emotions. Why do I say so, ST? It's like I know you are Secretary to Treasury, but you know what is happening in local authorities, and it gives us encouragement, as if you have been following our interactions with the councils. So it motivates us, but it's quite emotional in the sense that we ask ourselves, now all these things that are taking place, who is going to bring the change that we desire as a country? So with that said, I would like to open now our interactions. I will be asking honorable members for points of clarification and also questions. I will start with Honorable Mlunda, then Dr. Singombe.
Chairperson, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity, and I want to appreciate and thank the ST for his comments on the reports of the Auditor General. Chairperson, if we had people that would come out the way he has come out, Zambia was going to be a better country. Not what he has told us, but his actions 2012 to 2015 are speaking for themselves. We have seen. Now, Chairperson, I want to come to the audit in our councils. And I want to single out first only two departments, and that's the Department of Finance. Of course, it has the internal audit in itself. I want to find out, Chairperson, from Accountant General and the Internal Audit General, these two offices, they watch. I'm privileged to have been sitting on this committee for 3-4 years now, and I've seen internal auditors that would not check on how monies are being used, and they come here, they appear before this committee, and all they say is an oversight, we regret. Director Finances authorizing payments without supporting documents, without an activity. And the supervisors are watching, they see these things. And it's business as usual. Public funds are being abused every day Mr. Chairperson, and there is no action, the action that we desire, then why should we send auditors? If when auditors who only end at exposing the weaknesses, and the people that are supposed to take action are not taking action, then why should government be losing money in terms of, we have heard from ST that the auditors themselves, they have challenges in terms of transport because of the terrains of some places they go to. But why should they be going to all those rents when there is no action being taken by the people that are supposed to take action? Why should you let this go on? We have complained as a committee over principal officers moving from one workshop to another. And I was privileged to chair this committee for 3 years. And I had privileged information from local authorities across the country that CSS, principal officers, they even say workshop time, building time, because they'll go and sign and get money and go and build their houses. And when you try to confront the people that are issuing those letters, instructions or workshops, they say it's capacity building. But if you go down ST for 2-3 years, count the workshops, number of workshops, count the development, what is happening on the ground, it's zero. I will not shy away, Chairperson, that in 2024, in my constituency, I had zero. I had written a letter to the ministry that there is zero development. And they sent the PLG to come and confirm. The PLG gave us 1% the whole year. What sort of a country is this? People running from one workshop to another, pretending they are building capacity and they want to develop our place. I'm glad action has been taken. But my question, Chairperson, during audit, there are 3 components. There is preparation, like the SC has indicated. There is actual audit. There is exit meeting. There's ST made sure that when they indicate to him, we are coming as auditors, he prepared all the documents. And during the audit, everything he could present. Exit meeting, he made sure that he's around so that he knows that the report that the auditors are carrying is a clean report. Why can't other officers do the same? It's shocking, Chairperson. Anyway, we will receive answers, we hope, today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mulunda. As I said, ST, you can see the emotion from this committee. This is a very good committee. Not only the committee, members of parliament are concerned. So we shall see. We can only do what we can. Honorable Member for Dundumwezi.
Chair, thank you so very much. And I want to take the words of my colleague who has spoken before me on the ST as my very own. It's clear that a very competent officer can actually have a zero query. And look at the period that the AC has indicated. It's is it 3-4 years period? So, Chair, I want to also cite an example based on the enhanced CDF. ST, the enhanced CDF requires competent officers. I'm asking my question from page 12 on the timely achievement of annual targets. ST CDF is one vehicle that should bring development to every constituency, because you release these funds at once. I want to tell you that we had challenges some time back where maybe only 10 constituencies out of 156 are given. But now we have a scenario where no one should lag behind because monies are released on time. But now, ST, my question is, I still see some bureaucracies, a number of your members of parliament that are grappling with. One is the bureaucracy that is attached to these monies. Is it true? Is it true that provincial administrations lack desired capacities to approve projects? You are aware that a number of projects are approved by one office, maybe clearance of these contracts. When we have provinces and we have the officers of the Attorney General, why don't we allow the provincial administration clear these contracts? One example given, we applied to clear projects from Kalomo in January. I only picked them this week. And meanwhile here we are talking about timely achievement of targets. And once monies are mopped from our accounts, it's very difficult to claim them back. So my question is it true that local administration lack capacity or desired lack capacity to approve these projects? Again, tagging it to the issue of the EGP, I think it was just 2 months ago when I called your office, and I was happy because you picked up my phone after failing to get clarification from a number of offices on the districts that are in the rural setup. Find it very difficult to comply with this EGP because of the remoteness. So is there any other method that we can do to improve so that once monies are made available, people can quickly do the processes and then be able to achieve these projects on time? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much for those loaded. Some are comments, some are questions, but you can pick how you can respond to them. They are speaking to one thing. The concern by all members of parliament, by the country, about how we are managing our resources and our local authorities in Zambia. You can respond to them.
Thank you very much, Chair. Probably let me start with the questions from the Honorable Member for Siavonga, abuse of public resources and no action taken. And I totally agree with his observation that principal officers are moving from one workshop to another. Just 2 days or 3 days ago, first of all, last month, I sanctioned an audit to go to one of the provinces because I got the report that there were such systems. And the audit team traveled to that province and they found out that it was true that principal officers were doing this. And when they came and presented the report to me, and I said, we have been, like I told you, that we have been trying to identify and align and agree on what we want to achieve. And we think we have done that, and 2025 we need to start action. And I called the acting control of internal audit in my office, and I asked a question. This thing were happening, and we have got an internal audit colleague in the province. What did the internal audit colleague do? And why did they bring? And I was told that, no, you see, because the director, or was it the PS, or whoever, senior officer, they were so rude they didn't respect the internal audit. I said, but did the internal audit raise any red ink in the file so that we can be able to get this? They told me, no. Did they audit? Yes, they did a pre-audit, but they didn't do a post-audit. And the report that came showed that even in workshops that were supposed to take 2 days, they were getting money for 3-5 days. Even one of the reports that was damning was that this officer was, I think, in South Africa, one of the countries. And there were payment done for, what do you call, project monitoring. And there were 2 teams that were going for project monitoring at the same time. These officers are on both teams. In the meantime, they are out of the country.
Yes.
And I then instructed Accountant General. I said, can we start to act now? I have written a letter to this province. I've called the PS that is there. The PS was doing that, is no longer there. I've instructed Accountant General not to process the payment for the PS that has left until we recover that money. I have asked that the finance director and the director planning and the head of internal audit should come. The head of internal audit is not accused in that document that I've received, but the director of finance and the planner. And I've called them to show cause why they should not be disciplined. But the internal audit head, we put him there to help us.
Correct.
If he's not helping us, should we leave him there? And I told them that we should discipline also. Either demote him, because maybe we don't have a criminal issue against him, but demote him for failing us, because he should have been our eyes. If the principal said, no, this is what we are going to do, he should have brought that information. This is why he reports to that. So we are taking action on that, and we'll make sure that when we, and I've asked the colleague, I said, this is just an information that came to me through a whistleblower. But there could be these things happen in different institutions. And I've asked Accountant General to prepare a report for me of the principal officers in these institutions to show me, because we have got this information on the system, to show me how much have they gotten. And I want to sit one-on-one with each of the principal officers. If we have got 365 days in a year, and you get paid for 365 days, and you went out to visit, and these 365 days include weekends and holidays, and you went out to visit and got allowances for 365 days, then it means you are stealing the money we are paying you. You were never in your office. And we hope that we can start taking action. And we have convinced ourselves that this year is the year of taking actions. For the local authorities, we have put in place a performance framework, and we'll be sitting with our friends. How do we, like I told you, I never went to South Sudan to meet the immigration people. I was scoring myself. And if I got it right, it ticked green. If I got it wrong, it ticked red, it means I cannot get the visa. And when it ticked right, I got the visa. This should be a self-assessment. That should be able to say, you are supposed to achieve this. They tick themselves. At the end of the day, the controlling officer should sit with these officers in the local authorities. How did you perform? And they tick themselves. And we should be able in that performance to agree that beyond this level, we cannot. But obviously, as we are doing that, we have to support them to make sure that they achieve that, to make sure that we prepare them, to make sure that they have got the capacity. And only when now we realize these are rotten nuts, can we then be able to say, let's spit them. Because if we were to say that, okay, you have failed out, everyone will be out. The new people that will come, it will be the same thing. How can we make sure that within this, there are others that are doing this because it was fashionable, it was normal. Again, I'll give you an example. When I was in the Ministry of Finance as PS, the first thing that I saw was that everyone who was going on a trip, because the PS was the one to authorize, when I looked at the schedule of payment, the first name on the slip was mine. And I would tell them, but I'm not going for this workshop. Why are you putting my name? They said, this is what happens here, because if we don't put your name, you won't. And I told them, remove my name. Because I will only get money for the workshop that I attend. And I should lead by example. And I saw it. And I went out of the Ministry of Finance. I came back in 2021. I found everyone, every senior officer in the Ministry of Finance was getting allowances for workshops they didn't attend. Only one officer received the allowance, but because she didn't want to be rebuked, when she received the allowance, she privately went back and deposited that allowance in the bank. Only one officer out of all the officers. And when I sat down, I asked them, do you believe that you qualified for this money? And they told me, yes. Someone provided, someone signed. Others are saying, me, I just signed. Some others are saying, I never even signed. It just came in my account. Who am I to refuse? But it is lack of responsibility. And we have seen this. But we are starting next week on Monday. I'm having a meeting with this provincial, and we should be able to take action. And then Accountant General is downloading all the reports. Any officer that got beyond will sit with the Secretary to Cabinet and will be able to say how many were there, should they have gotten, what work did they do, why should we, I mean, I can sample as ST to go and look at the projects. I can sample. The officers should go and do the monitoring. Why should I as ST be on a trip to go and do monitoring every time? They have been summoned here to appear before PAC. There is a team that is doing monitoring in the province. Their names are there. They will go and sign, genuinely. And these are principal officers that are supposed to be my eyes in the province. These are the people I've appointed, controlling officers to help me. But these are the people that are doing this. These are the directors of finance that have got a code of ethics. And they are doing this. And when we do this, obviously there will be some cries. Some of them will come and use politics. Some of them will come and use tribalism. No, ST doesn't like me because he's Lenje. He's a tribalist because I am someone else. But these are the challenges we face, and we must tackle them.
Correct.
And all we do is we seek your support that you help us tackle these problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ST. You have our support. You can attempt the Dundumwezi.
Yes. So, CDF, one of the things, again, the law provides that the ST should clear all the contracts. But the ST can delegate that. And this is what we have done from the Treasury side. We have provided a standard matrix. When this project comes, look for this, look for this. Because even when it comes to my office, it is officers that will come and tick for me and make a recommendation to me. So instead of using an officer sitting in the Ministry of Finance, I use the Director of Finance in the Ministry of Local Government for local government. I use the Director of Finance in the Ministry of Community Development for community development, so that we move this thing. Standard. And then when they finish that, then they submit that report to me to make sure that I validate, I check that they did the right thing. And where they did the wrong thing, we go and correct it before the auditor comes to correct it. And I've had discussions with our colleagues from Attorney General's office that can we be able to have this, where we can have standard templates. There are projects for CDF that are standard, where we can say for these standard projects, you can even do self-ticking. The project starts moving and the papers will come for validation. I have talked to my colleagues from the audit, the Attorney General's chamber. And the Attorney General did assure me that they are looking at how effective and efficient that could be. But the solution would be in the automation. If you are getting a taxpayer identification number from the Zambia Revenue Authority, you don't meet the Commissioner domestic taxes. You go on through the computer, you do everything. And when you finish, the letter comes from the Commissioner domestic taxes, because the law says the Commissioner shall approve. The letter comes automatically, pre-signed, but it follows the ticking that you did. And we're asking our colleagues from Attorney General's office if that can work out. If the projects that we are doing are not standard, they are different, then we can say let's concentrate on those can come, but then the load will reduce because most of the projects will clear and the load will reduce, and therefore we clear some of those projects. So I hear you, and this is one of the challenges we're saying, how can we be able to improve this? EGP, yes, it's a challenge. We need to resolve it, but we commit that we should be able to improve it. And already I told you that because sometimes they say we don't have resources, we have partnered with the EU. The EU are providing the resources. We'll get the experts that will be able to say how does an EGP process work effectively in order to achieve this. And we think that we can get that. The timely achievement of the targets, obviously one of the issues is the procurement. But when we started the CDF, you remember I came before this committee and I did commit, we say we know that procurement is a challenge. But it should be a challenge at the beginning, because the next time you are repeating what you already did. And this is why we agreed that the money that we gave you at the beginning, that we won't retain it, we'll give you to use it in the following year, because we were thinking that then procurement will catch up and we'll be able to achieve this. What are some of the lessons that we have seen in this? And we saw this in some of the areas. So for instance, if I talk about Lusaka City Council, there are different constituencies in Lusaka. And therefore, when now Munali or Mandevu says they want to do this, the Director of Finance from Lusaka City Council, the Director of Planning from Lusaka City Council that are involved in this will then be locked into a workshop. They will get their allowances. It means that the work in the office remains stuck. It means the work for Munali, for Kanyama, for Matero, for Lusaka Central remains stuck. When they finish 10 days with Mandevu constituents, Munali will want their work. It means what they finish, they won't go and implement, they will go and now sit on Munali. The incentive is, as long as they are sitting, they are getting an allowance. And it becomes a building time. And the question is, can we be able to relook at this? Even if we were to say, okay, for accounting purposes, for planning purposes, probably from the CDF, the Lusaka City Council should recruit a constituency planner, a constituency accountant, so that these projects are moving. The Director of Finance is in the office coordinating that. These are some of the proposals we are putting in place. But obviously, they will receive resistance, because when we do that, the Director of Finance will no longer be getting the allowance. The Director of Planning will no longer be getting an allowance. And they will resist. One of the resistance, they will be saying, we are already bloated, we don't have the money. They will come to you as members of parliament. Instead of you paying salaries to these officers, why this money we can be able to do this work? But the experience I've seen is that, especially for those districts or councils that have got many constituencies, they have got this challenge because the officers are moving from one constituency to another. For the officers, it makes sense because they are making money, but for the constituencies and the council itself, they are lagging behind because they cannot process this, hence the delay that we see. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. You are full of wisdom and knowledge, and we are enjoying, because you are merely speaking what we have been doing here. It motivates us. So I will take another set. I will start with the Vice Chair, then Kaumbwe, then Mitete.
Thank you so much, Chair. For me, Chair, allow me to, I would like to read two responses against the recommendations of the Auditor General's report. The first one being on page 13, under the headline, Effective Revenue and Expenditure Management. The Treasury responds that they note the recommendation. The Treasury upholds compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and circulars by local authorities. The laws and regulations adequately provide for strengthening internal control environment in local authorities and clearly state consequences that may arise in the event of financial misconduct. Here, the Auditor General is talking about prevention of irregular cash withdrawals, waste for expenditure, fund misapplication, theft or loss due to negligence or criminal conduct. Chair, allow me to go to page 15. Again, I would like to read the response by the ST on the management of local government equalization fund. The response reads, and I quote, "The Local Government Act guidelines and circulars give adequate and sufficient guidance on the specific authorized uses of local government equalization monies, and officers are well aware of the consequences of failing to abide by these provisions." I would like to end here, Chair. ST, I've deliberately dwelled on these two because if there's an area in government where a lot of monies are going is in the Ministry of Local Government. Our officers neglect to abide by the existing laws, regulations, circulars. They do things with impunity. I'll give an example on local government equalization fund, where you have explicitly stated that the regulations are sufficient and the consequences are known. But if you look at the report of the Auditor General, local authorities went ahead to make budgets, first of all, and before the realignment of the 20% last year, local authorities were required to undertake capital projects to enable the citizenry in those districts to enjoy services by the local authorities. Projects that would enhance the collection of revenue, such as the building of toilets on public infrastructure such as markets, the building of a revenue collection hall or an office. Councils neglected to build these projects and opted to give themselves salaries in total disregard of the law. No permission from the provincial local government officer or any officer was mandated to give them this permission. And some of them, when they came here, in their response to why they use this money, they will tell you, no, we'll start paying back in 2026. No commitment whatsoever. It's business as usual because there are no sanctions. Yet here, ST, you are saying the consequences are known. Wasteful expenditure, misapplication of funds, payments without supporting documentation. These are some of the issues that come here, year in, year out, by the report of the Auditor General. My question is, what are we doing from your end, especially now that you're even pouring more money? Number one, towards payments of these officers in the local authorities. Their salaries are paid by yourselves through the Local Government Equalization Fund. Number two, you are giving us more money in terms of Constituency Development Fund. Our officers do not want to abide by the regulations, the Public Finance Management Act, the accounting, local government accounting policies. These are ignored with impunity. And we have seen that no disciplinary measures are taken against these erring officers. We were just lamenting about an internal auditor who neglected to put pen for something that was wrong. And this is going on in these councils. Year in, year out, we are losing a lot of money. no discipline. What we see is that promotion or transfer. A controlling officer who mess up the council in Kaoma, instead of being demoted or discharged, they are taken to be controlling officer in Munkwi. A controlling officer who mess up Ngabwe town council, instead of being disciplined or discharged, they will be brought to Lusaka City Council. The same things will continue happening. Are we going to continue with this discussion, ST, where we are saying these things are known and no measures are being put in place to ensure that the mother ministry, number one, I'm glad they are here, that they do the corrective, action. The local government service commission, that they discipline their officers. At principal officer level, we have directors, town clerks. There are junior officers who neglect to undertake due diligence, make a payment without any supporting documents. The director human resource will wait for the external auditors, Office of Auditor General, to go and highlight, and they will come here to say, no, we actually have supporting documentation now. They manufactured this documentation. I'm glad now, through this committee, the Ministry of Local Government has stopped taking these officers who are cited for these audit queries to Chalimbana to go and train them.
They are there.
How they must respond to these audit queries instead of disciplining the erring officers. Are we going to continue to operate like this? When I was here thinking as you were talking, so for me, I'm even recommending that perhaps one of the requisite qualifications going forward is we must take these people that would want to work under the Ministry of Local Government through ZNS or military training, so that perhaps we can have some form of patriotism built in their brains, because the negligence to abide by regulations, the laws in the Ministry of Local Government, particularly local authorities, is alarming, and it can be business as usual. I seek your comment through the chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You note, ST, the emotions from this committee. A very good committee on behalf of Madam Speaker. What we are observing is quite sad. Now, who is going to correct things in this country? That's a question, a bigger question. But take note of what everyone is saying. Dr. Mwanza, then imitate.
Well, thank you so much, Chair. It is very difficult to ask a very direct question to the ST because of his presentation is full of knowledge. The questions that we had, we could answer the questions in his presentations because of his vast experience, and just want to encourage ST to not to relent, to continue being patriotic, and continue forging ahead to make sure that this country should be where it should be. I'm equally touched because I come from a similar background like yours, where you have had international experience, and on the local front, you've risen through your academic and professional ranks, which at this stage, I can use the word like it takes a thief to catch another thief. So you have had so much, not a thief like you are a thief, but you have risen from level of technician to where you are now. So when somebody is presenting work to you, that person must go through that work 100 times, because you will be able to spot and you'll be able to check that I know here you have hidden some certain things and you must correct like this. So really for sure, but anyway, I'll talk about the local authorities. The councils have actually, government has employed the most highly qualified people through the Local Government Service Commission. Yes, because like engineers are the ones that are supposed to propel this program, the enhanced CDF in terms of capital projects. What I realized through our interaction with the councils is that the president, of course, has been talking about the right price, timely delivery, and quality work on all the projects. We have the resources. Now, this equation, right price, timely delivery, and quality work, is a complex equation that is like, it's an optimization equation to optimize this, to make sure that to get the right price, we need to involve a lot of stakeholders, which is your office is there is in the equation. The local authorities are in the equation. As parliamentarians, we are in the equation to optimize it. You have mopped funds. They are centrally controlled. And councils, they put up a request for funding. You receive, it's quite a huge number of applications. I can just imagine 156 constituencies on average. Each constituency has maybe 20, 30 projects per month that they are requesting for funding. And your office might not be so efficient to respond to that request on time. So it affects the cost of these projects. The procurement also, there are certain projects that are seasonal. You cannot construct a bridge. Looking at our contractors, the capacity of our contractors in the country, you are constructing a bridge and you're supposed to construct a bridge. You cannot construct a bridge during the rainy season. But the procurement team, when they're supposed to procure the projects, they're supposed to procure them timely. But due to these lapses in the EGP, experiences in the EGP, and also funding, you find the timing of funding, you find that the project, they advertise and the contractors are non-responsive, then it goes to be re-advertised, then it be awarded maybe 8 months since they started the initial procurement process. That time, due to lapse of time, and you know the exchange rate, the inflation, and so on and so forth, it will increase the cost of the project. Now, my questions based on this scenario is that procurement process, how do you balance the limited resource allocation to a project and the delayed procurement? Because when you delay the procurement, it will make the cost to be above your budget. Then also the resources from your offices to fund these councils. how are you, what is your time frame when you receive a request for funding? Why do you delay? And it requires members of parliament to make phone calls, to follow up for funding, which, like even in my case, Kaumbe constituency, there is a request for funding at the Ministry of Local Government of about 10 million kwacha. More than 3 weeks. And the procurement is, they're supposed to procure and fund contractors. Those contractors, they'll claim for, they can claim for delayed payments. How is your office supporting this optimization equation of right price, timely delivery, and quality work in order not to increase the cost of these projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. We will get on this. Let us get your comments. You take note, then you can respond. The three.
The chair, I thought you were going to say, please respond. It's like it's loaded. But when you are given a chance, you don't lose it. Thank you, Chair. ST, thank you so very much. Auditor General and your team, Chair, to them also, thank you so much that it is through them this discussion is there. I would have also liked to start, but let me start with one question. 95% workshops, meaning, though you never mentioned it, meaning 5% is what goes for development. ST, how do we change that? How can be 5% be workshops and 95% development? How quick, how can we, and how quick can we do that? That's, if you answer that and we achieve that, to me it will be done. Maybe I would have heard you. I want to see, like you have stated, through you, Chair, and this committee, that 2025, ST has said 2025 is a year of what? Maybe let him repeat, 2025 is a year of what? $2025. How I wish, Chair, through you, how I wish Local Government Service Commission was part and parcel of this discussion. How I wish. A fortnight ago, PS administration and his team, when they appeared, I stated and said, mobilization of national resources has turned into depletion of the same resources. Now I would add, and has increased to become officers see cash cow. That's the problem. A team. How are you going to assemble that team And how long will that team be effective, bearing in mind that every project is time limited? Allow me, Chair, to end here. It is true, when auditors, the external auditors appear, those being audited tend to run away. When he was the chair of this meeting, we had the Secretary to Treasury, an officer eating. Have you ever eating papers? If the document turned into a very heavy breakfast. It's not a joke.
It's a reality.
It's a reality. It's a reality. It's a reality. But change can be achieved. India at some point had a drought, asked for food. Then they said, we will not continue asking for food. Later they said, we are the second entire world. So having a problem, it's not in itself a problem, but finding a solution. Why? Mind change. Mind. Like you stated, when this one comes, the way we live here, sir, like he has gone, the way we live here, sir, it's this. Number one name, PS Nkulukusa, sign. Though you're not going, just sign, you'll find your money in the account. For you to have said no. Huh? And that officer who got and then went to private deposit back, rare. I found one. And that one was told, you shall eat your integrity. And he said, if integrity is food, it's delicious, and I'll eat it. Some of these members of parliament do campaign in this way. If I've not done anything for you in 5 years, don't vote for me. Will we see such officers again? To say, if I've been a principal for this long and have not achieved, let me not be such a principal officer. We only have one country, Zambia.
Okay.
Chair will not shy away. Say we've been told outside to say, go and develop your own countries. I may not have time again. Allow me end by saying, decreasing CDF for me, no. Increasing it, yes. He has stated that development takes where? In the local authorities. And I'm a bearer of that that evidence. You can go to Mitete, count how many projects so far in 3 years. You send people. If they'll find in 3 years, there are only 2 projects, the increase. even amongst these challenges, yes, you can eat an elephant a bit and a bit. If Parliament had allowed, would have taken the whole day. Thank you, Chair.
What emotional submissions that are coming from honorable members of this committee. As it has been said, ST, when we meet you, we find a lot of comfort.
I'm sorry, Chair. Here are ambulances. How long have those ambulances taken to be delivered? The ambulances which should have been delivered last year, where are they? Where are they? It's not Kipeto. Where are the ambulances? What is the problem?
He has always advised us to be calm. ST, it is always a big honor to host you. You see, these honorable members of parliament of this committee, ST, before you respond, you get the emotions. It's the emotion that comes from every member. If there was an opportunity that you, the Ministry of Local Government, ST, you appear before the main house, you hear what members of parliament talk about. They mean well to this country. But we can only talk. It is you, technocrats. It is you. Last time I asked, who is going to change this government? Who is going to change this country? We depend on you. The CDF has talked about the best ever in this country, enhanced CDF. But are we getting the desired results? I'll make my final comments. Before that, I will also ask Honorable for Mufumbwe, after you respond, that will be the last said, so that we can see. Our hope is that ST, not you, but we welcome the PS local government, Dr. Pauline. That is where our hope lies. He has just come. And his coming is just being bombarded by this and that as he's settling. But we have the hope in him. Pauline can change this country, can change councils, having come at this time. So we are speaking like this. We know that we have the hope. This attitude in the local government is a problem. We are blessed in this committee. Mulunda, former councillor, MP in that Siavunga Council, chairman of the Local Government Accounts Committee, 3 years. The vice chair in the local government, Dundumwezi, we have Mufumbwe, we have Mitete, our mentor, and we have an engineer, doctor in civil engineering, Dr. Mwanza, who has brought a lot of experience. We know, we understand. I have worked also myself in the local government from the lowest rank of a clerical officer in the unions. We know, and we love our country, like every member of parliament. But the question the Zambians out there is, we are just a talking shop. Who is going to deal with these issues? When you speak like that, look at what the MPs are saying. If we had even 5 people like you, Dr. Nkurukusa, this country will not be the same. And they are there. They are there, even here. But it's, what are we doing for our country? Or what is this government doing for us? The question that I always ask. You are going for work, you ask yourself, what has this institution done for me? Instead of me saying, what have I done for this country? The moment we change that, this country will be at another level. please attempt to respond to those before Honorable Kamondo comes in. Thank you, ST.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I truly appreciate. I come from a rural area, and I understand the challenges that the Zambian people go through, and I understand the challenges that you as members of parliament go through because you meet these people every day. I do understand those challenges. Even just me as ST, when I go to my village, everyone would want to have all the challenges they have been resolved. And the only way we can resolve these challenges is to grow the cake. That is the only way we are going to resolve these challenges. How do we grow the cake? And in order for us to grow the cake, we need to work. And answering your question, who is going to bring about this change? In order to grow the cake, we need to work together. You as members of parliament, us as civil servants, the private sector, and this is what basically we call the triangle of hope. The private sector providing efficiency and effectiveness, the civil service bring about efficiency, not bureaucracy, and the political will. And the fortunate part we have, probably this is why I can speak so freely, because we have the political will. Not that my colleagues before me probably did not have the information. Not that my colleagues that are serving with me, that they didn't know what to do. But now they have got the political will. They can do, and they have got the backing of the political wing of the triangle of hope that is pushing them. And we think this is where our hope lies, that we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Responding to the questions, why are we not punishing the erring officers? And I will repeat what the Honorable Member for Mitete said. What did I say for 2025? I said we are building the system. We were building the capacity. We are bringing everyone with a hope that we will share, all of us, in the vision of becoming a prosperous middle-income country as Zambia. And we believe that we have done that. And we now start to implement. And I said 2025 is the year of implementation. If there will be someone who is still believing in the past, the beauty about it is that we have got the political will. Every time the president talks to me, every time the president talks to the secretary to cabinet, he always says, you two are going to help me to achieve this. He is one of the people that also receives some of this information, and he always will send, what are we doing against this? And no one can be able to say, you can't touch me, the president is protecting me. The president says, if you are doing something wrong, you are on your own. So that gives us the courage, as the people that are working under the president, that we are going to achieve this. And Honorable Shaka Fuswa, I can assure you, the laws are clear. The colleagues have got the performance framework, and will be able to make that performance framework, and it is a self-assessment framework. Here are the tools that you are going to use. Here is what we will expect you to achieve. Did you use those tools? Did you achieve? And those that did not achieve, if they were appointed by the president, will go to the president. And the president is willing to make sure that we pull together and we change this economy. So that will be done. And I gave you an example of already what we have done, that we think we are going to address this. And I'm very sure that in the coming weeks, in the coming months, I will be able to hear some of these initiatives that we are taking. We don't want the Auditor General to go and discover. We want to discover ourselves, and then we go to the Auditor General and say, Auditor General, we have got this case. How do we approach it? That is what we want to do. And this is why we want to strengthen, we want to capacitate, we want to empower the people that we are working with. Honorable Mwanza, the mopped-up funds, yes, we had a challenge. The challenge we had was that we had a lot of resources. I'm sure that all of us would want to go to a commercial bank. And when we go to a commercial bank, we want to present a business, I'm sure all of us would want to borrow from that commercial bank. And I'm sure that that commercial bank should have the money to lend to you. But what was happening is that we had this government money in the commercial banks, whether it is central government, whether it is local authorities. And these commercial banks are business people. When you put your money, they will take probably 6 months. They will know your character. They will know your trend. They will know how much money you are going to withdraw. And what basically was happening is that these commercial banks, because government borrowing is zero risk, you are going to get your money once you lend the money to government through treasury bills and government bond. So what did they do? They went to government to get money through treasury bills and government bonds. At the time that we came into office, we were borrowing 14% of GDP to finance the budget. The first discipline we put is that we reduce that borrowing. And the rule of the thumb in development economics says if a poor country borrows more than 3% to finance the budget, they will have a challenge in paying back that debt. And it has come to pass for Zambia because we are borrowing more than 3%. In 2020, we borrowed about 14%. And we started reducing that borrowing. And we are targeting that in the medium term, we go to below 3% so that we can be able to pay back that. But what does that mean? That means that we then remove the government crowding out the private sector. That now that money that the commercial banks should have lent, because the major players in the treasury bills and bond markets are commercial banks. Now that government has pulled out, commercial banks will remain with this money and they should lend it. If we are leaving government money in the commercial bank, they will still charge us interest, and therefore they will not bother because they have got the money. And this is why we introduce that, because we are saying that this economy should be driven by the private sector. And in order for the economy to be driven by the private sector, we must create an environment that brings the private sector into the play. And government pulling out is to do that, so that then commercial banks would come up with ingenious ideas in order to make money. And they will come to us as private citizens and they will start lending the money to us and we will start making that money. So that is the intention. The intention is government pull out, private sector comes in, we have development from the private sector. But as you are doing that, there are consequences. The consequence is one of the issues that Dr. Mwanza has raised. And in this case, we even agreed with our colleagues from local government that we don't even need an official letter to come. Because this is your money. We didn't record the money in the books. We just put it into one bank account. It is your money. Since it is your money, even by email, you sent an email to say, we are now ready to use this money. Can this money move? We put those arrangements in place that could be able to work. And we committed that that money should move as and when it is required. But what we have seen still, and we have received a lot of phone calls, is that today you tell us, my money is ready, I want 10 million. And we'll give you the 10 million kwacha. And that money stays in an account again for 1 month, 2 months. Then the question is are you really ready to spend? So those are the challenges we have. But we understand. And to answer the question of this timely funding and everything, what we are thinking now in the Treasury is that our job is to look for money. It is him to execute the budget in local government. It is the PS in community to execute the budget. And we are thinking and we are still undertaking these reforms, looking at what are the pros and the cons, so that we introduce a warrant system. We look at the money that we receive through the year. How much money do we think we are going to receive, which the budget we present? We sit down with the Zambia Revenue Authority. What do you think you are going to give us in month 1, month 2, up to 12 months? We sit down with the non-tax revenue collecting institutions. What money are we going to get? Then we should be able to say, this 217 billion in month 1, we're going to receive so much, in month 2, so much in month 3. And then on a quarterly basis, we give a warrant. Local government, this is the money you're going to receive in quarter 1. And local government starts working. We don't need to start releasing the money every day. We release the money at once. The money sits in the Treasury single account, and local government can do quarter 1 until they finish. This is the system we are thinking we'll put in place. We are still consulting to make sure that we don't get it wrong. But what we have realized from the line ministries, even from the local authorities, is that now what we do is every quarter, the colleagues in budget office will come and say, this is the money we have. They go to the line ministries and say, line ministries, how much do you want in this quarter? If there is a mismatch between the total revenues and the total expenditure for that quarter, we call each of the line ministries, we negotiate, can you move this in the next quarter, can you move this, so that we balance. Budget office then comes to my office. I sign off that document. I don't go to budget office to check every day what happens. At the end of the quarter, budget office brings me a report that says, as per, this is what you approved, this is how we have spent, and this is what we have. But what we have realized is that there is this money that is required for now. When we are giving the quarterly allocation, the line ministry, I'm giving an example of local government because I'm with them here. Local government will leave out the money that is required to purchase the ambulances. And we have given each one the money that we expect to receive. And after we have finished now, I have approved, and probably in month 1 we fund, month 2 local government comes and says, oh, we have ambulances, this is very critical. We need to buy ambulances, can you give us the money? And the question I ask is, if Ministry of Community Development did a good budget, which they presented, and I should honor it, you did a bad budget, and you have come for change, it means for me to give that money to local government, I should deny someone. It means I'm punishing the person who did a good job and rewarding a person who did a bad job. Is that the system that we want? So this is what we see in some of these. That instead of putting that money that is required for that quarter, there will be money for workshops and trips. And when the actual requirement comes, because they know that the parliament will make noise, probably the executive will make noise, then they will come and say, this is urgent. Now, should we punish the people that are doing good job and reward the people that are doing bad job? The opposite should be true. We should punish the people that are doing bad job. So we are hoping that when we go to the warrant system and the people manage their own budget so that we concentrate on raising the revenues and consolidating the budget, that will be able to achieve that. But if there are any challenges that we still have with this money that we brought in, again I'm saying it here, we don't even need official letter, even an email, because we will be able to check how much money did we withhold. Because that money, we are only holding it on your behalf. And we will be able to release it. We will not have committed any offense because the money is already yours. So someone will say, no, put it in writing. But if they put the writing in imitete, by the time the document moves to means of local government, and we know in government, from local government, it starts crawling like a tortoise. By the time it reaches finance, it goes back is 3 months. We have missed the target. So this is what we are trying to do. How do we introduce this efficiency and effectiveness? We have even gone further now to say, PS local government, instead of you are the controlling officer, the eyes and ears of the secretary to the treasury in local government, but go ahead with this template and appoint sub-warrant holders so that when the money comes to you, you don't hold and you start looking at it. You give it to the sub-warrant holder, who is the town clerk or council secretary in this case. And that this sub-warrant holder, if he misbehaves, I will come with him here and not the PS local government. So because he should be answerable, because what happens is they will misbehave because they know that when it comes to appearing before local government committee, it will be the PS who will be appearing. So those are some of the changes that we are making. The procurement and procedures, I think I've responded. We think that this warrant system, if we implement it, is going to achieve that. But currently what we are doing, and last year obviously we had the drought and we amended the budget. The other year we received, I think our budget performance was about 98%. What we promised we were going to give, we gave the money. Last year we had a drought, but even under the revised budget, what we promised we were going to give, we gave the money. We believe that is the same year. What is with this year? What is important is to make sure that the controlling officers prioritize those investment projects in their profiles. Because the Minister of Finance would not be able to know what is priority number one in Minister of Local Government. It's local government that should tell us. Now, if they put priority number one as workshop, when the time comes to funding, who fund workshop? Then they come and say, oh, by the way, we need to buy ambulances. We have already funded workshop. We don't have the money for ambulances. But when they come here, obviously the challenge would be, where is this money? And yesterday I had a meeting with my colleagues from local government. And I asked them, did you put it in your profile? And they confessed, we are sorry we didn't put in our profile. Can we look at how best we can do to make sure that these things are profiled? And we agreed. Yesterday, I had a meeting. He was in chairing the tender committee. The technical colleague came to meet me. We had a meeting, and we agreed on how we move. I'll ask him to talk about the ambulance procurement, but this is the money we are talking for ambulance procurement, and the procurement started. I think some ambulances are coming. He will probably give us the actual figures. Some ambulances are coming, some ambulances are on the way, some ambulances are being procured, and we hope that we should be able to finish, and he will give us the roadmap. In terms of meeting this right price, right quality, and this is a mentality change. We need to change with our mentality, and we believe that probably we need some cultural remodeling. But we think with the political will, with the performance framework that we are putting in place, with the monitoring that now we are doing, with the single treasury account where we can be able to sift out information even from the Minister of Finance, even before we go to these institutions, we should be able to achieve this, and we should be able to ensure that we do the procurement accordingly. Like I said, EGP system it still has some challenges, but my appeal is that we don't need to throw it away. We need to improve it and move ahead and make sure that we have good procurement. 95% of the money going to the workshops. How quickly can we change this? We will do it this year. We will do it this year. As we are coming to appear before you again, we will be able to show you that these things have changed. And it's very simple. We don't need to target everyone. For me, I will target the controlling officers, the directors of finance, and the directors of planning. For them, I will give them responsibility to control their other staff. And if they don't do what we agree, for me, I will be able to punish them. And this is what I'm doing on Monday with the team, the province that we have already discovered they are doing that. So we'll be able to do it, and we'll come back to you. Local Government Service Commission should have been here. Yes, probably next time we are appearing, we'll be appearing with them. But what we are doing also, even before we appear, we are trying to say, how do we work? And the President has always encouraged us to work as one government. We don't want to come here and put blame on. We need to come here as one government and be able to sing from the same hymn, to speak the same voice, whether it is Local Government Service Commission, whether it is PS local government, whether it is ST, all of us should share into this vision and speak accordingly. How are we going to assemble this team, and when are we going to put in place? We are going to do it immediately, and we think that we can do this. Like I said, 2025 is the year of implementation, and we'll start to make sure that we achieve this target. And we'll make sure now we are even looking at a situation where, for instance, one of the performance benchmarks that we put, if the Auditor General is going into for an entry meeting with the auditee, and the controlling officer is not in that entry meeting, the controlling officer should give me a convincing report why they were not in that meeting, and if they were committed. Why they did not liaise with the Auditor General to make sure that they change the date so that they align on their commitments. So we'll put those as part of the performance benchmarks in the framework that we are putting. CDF, are we going to reduce CDF? If you asked me as ST, as a development economist, I would say no. What I would be saying is that the money that we are taking through the line ministries, that are going through the districts, because the line ministries is just the center. In my view, if we are to implement decentralization, the line ministries should stick to policy, standards, and training. All the activities should be done at the district. That's what decentralization should mean. But we have a line ministry that has got the money here at the center doing a road in Kaputa. And I've given this example before, that again I traced one transaction where we released the money from Ministry of Finance under forced accounting to RDA. And we are told that is capital equipment that is going, a capital expenditure that was going to do a road. And out of that money we released, 20,000 was going to do a bridge in Northern Province. And out of that 20,000 that was going to do a bridge in Northern Province, which is capital expenditure, 1,200 was used to buy, to hire transport to take the sand to the site. 700 was used to buy the sand to take to the site. The rest of the 20,000 went into allowances. The person who was accompanying the truck, the person who was going to supervise that the sand was bought, and each one got the days and 20,000 went. And when now we went now to say, let's prepare the statements, Budget Office said we released 20,000 for capital expenditure. Accountant General said only 700 was for capital expenditure out of the 20,000. So we had that mismatch. And when I was presenting a report previously, I showed a mismatch where we are saying what was the capital expenditure during this period as reported by Accountant General in the statement, in the financial report, as reported by Budget Office, and as reported by Central Statistics Office as the overall statistics. And we had 3 different lines, like each one was reporting on something else. Because of that, obviously we are trying to say, can we be able to address that? So CDF, we don't think we need to reduce. But the challenging thing, I have a report that came from the audit. There is a lot of abuse. And I have pressure, especially from the cooperating partners, that probably CDF may not be the right route because there is abuse. How can we work together to make sure that this abuse is not done? Why would we allow that a team will form a committee in our constituencies and they get a loan or CDF or they get a grant and they share, they go and start drinking, they don't implement what was supposed to be implemented under that project? We are the members of parliament. Why are we allowing that? Why are we not reporting? Why are we not blacklisting? Because if that money was invested, the first team that got that money pays back. The second team will get that money, they will pay back. The third team will get that money, they will pay back. At the end of the day, everyone will have that money and CDF will work. But with the report we have now is that people sit under a tree, they form a committee with the local government officials. The money is given and the money is shared, they go and drink, no project. There is no supervision. Obviously, when we come back, you tell us, ST, what are you doing? But probably I should ask you as members of parliament in this, because this CDF is under you. What are you doing? Probably next time when we come, we engage in this and we'll ask each other, what are we doing? Which one is paying back? And probably we can do, not a name and shame, but we can be able, even just to say, we put on a billboard in the newspaper, out of the CDF grants, which constituency had the grants that went and performed what they did? Which constituents did not? Out of the CDF loan, which constituents has managed to pay back the loan and rolled it over? Which constituents has not? Probably we should be going into that, but obviously, before we do that, we need to have a situation where we sit together, we agree on how we implement, so that this name and shame does not come by surprise, but everyone is aware and buys in this. I'll ask my colleague just to probably give a highlight on ambulances, and if there's anything he wants to talk, if you permit me, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, he's permitted. Actually, I was coming to that. I said we would want to get some comment from the PS local government and any other official, then also secretary to, is it accountant general, if there's any comment, especially when it comes to these internal auditors and other issues that she may feel that she can make comment on, especially the internal audit system. So we can start with the accountant general, then the PS being the main person who will come and talk more on some of the issues.
Thank you, Chair. We have taken note of the concerns of the committee, and from the Office of the Accountant General, we have been working with the Ministry of Local Government through the devolution project to improve the internal controls in the ministry. I think one notable control that we've put in place is to put the policies in place, and I'm sure you've seen from the Minister General's report, the 2023 accounts, about 95% were unqualified, only 3% had qualified reports. We will continue working with the local authorities through Ministry of Local Government, of course, to see if by 2026 next year, we could have an integrated financial reporting system, which we believe will assist us to address most of the issues that have been raised here. I submit.
Thank you. We can also have acting controller of audit, especially yourself. The gatekeepers are the ones who are not helping the system. What are we doing?
Thank you so much, Chair. I think some of the policies that have been introduced from our office through the Director of Local Government, we've been working hand in hand with the Ministry of Local Government to train the auditors in the local authorities through different means. We've also tried to train through online systems, and we've also tried to come up with the audit handbook, and also we've introduced the audit committees in the local authorities. And the reason for bringing this is to try and bring an oversight function within the local authorities. When the auditors come up with the queries, they're supposed to be submitted within the audit committee so that they try to resolve these issues. And through that committee, when there are issues that are salient, that have not been resolved, they come through our department, through the local authorities, and we do summaries for ST's office so that the councils can be asked to give reasons why they should not be rebuked. So far this year, all the audit committees have been appointed, and we hope to see a change in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I want to appeal through the ST to the Office of the Controller of Internal Audit to take keen interest, especially in local authorities. We have a big problem. When they appear here, you'd wonder, did we recruit or employ papers, or we employed the people who are determined to help this country? It's like that we look at their good papers and they are employed, but they lack the ethical principles that comes the demands of their offices, and hence all these problems that are arising. So we take note, but it's an appeal. This committee can just do its part. We can now allow the main man, the PS, to make some comments over what has been raised. Then we can have the last comments from Honorable Mufumbu MP. Then I will conclude. Thank you. PS, you can make some comments.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'd like to make some comments first on 3 key issues that were raised by the honorable members before I discuss the issue of ambulances, which is basically giving a status update on where we're at. The first key issue was from the MP for Mandevu, the Member of Parliament for Mandevu, asking about the consequences of failing to abide by procedural and legal provisions, and in particular what disciplinary action is being taken. So premise on behavioral economics, Honorable Chair, we understand that humans respond to incentives and they respond to penalties as well. Even just on the road, when there are police officers in front, we tend to look at our gauge. Because of that enforcement, that results. And if there are no police officers, we drive recklessly. As humans, we are engineered to behave out of character most often than not. But based on that knowledge and insight, Honorable Chair, we recognize that the absence of enforcement of incentives and punitive measures is what makes officers continue to carry on the path of error. And we are determined as a ministry, Honorable Chair, and we can assure you at this point that we will strictly follow the disciplinary code, enforce disciplinary action against erring officers, working in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance through the Secretary to the Treasury, and indeed through the Local Government Service Commission to ensure that performance standards are adhered to and the officers behave in the way that we expect them to behave in order for us to collectively deliver development for our country. Honorable Chair, there are also some innovative mechanisms that have been put in place at the Ministry of Local Government in order to track performance, and this is in response to the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mitete, who is concerned, and rightly so, on the misallocation of resources. In economics, we'd call that Pareto inefficiency, where resources intended for developmental purposes are being spent on consumption. That's an inefficiency in and of itself. Now, what are we going to do about officers, issues of allowances? We've been discussing with our Director for Local Government Administration to bring on board the insight that we have on incentives, on penalties, and to actually consider a moratorium in terms of travel for the principal officers. And to see travel not necessarily as business as usual, but also for it to be an incentive. You cannot be traveling outside of your jurisdiction when you have money pending on the project that has stalled. Now, how are we going to ensure that we are always aware that there are projects that are being implemented, there are projects that have stalled, is that we have what is called a CDF tracking tool, which helps us to understand where they are at in terms of the different projects. So we have already sent out this CDF tracking tool. We've received data, and we've received historical data from 2020 to 2024. And Honorable Chair, I can report that even as I'm settling down, I have a bird's eye view in terms of understanding what projects were implemented in 2022 in Mufumbwe, what projects were implemented in 2023 in Mitete, how much money was spent on each of these community projects, and at what completion rate these projects are at. So these are some of the strong monitoring and supervision systems that we're putting in place, and in response to Honorable Member of Parliament for Dundumwezi on the time management of project execution. How can we know that a project is lagging behind if we don't know what project is being implemented at a given point in time? So we have that CDF tracking tool, which is helping us to appreciate what is going on at each and every constituency. And the Smart Zambia Institute has actually developed a CDF dashboard. I'm not sure the honorable members of this committee have had a look at the CDF dashboard and how it works, and even the end user forms that are being utilized in order to input data. So the CDF dashboard essentially is like a control dashboard for controlling officers and principal officers, but we also want something that can be designed for the public, so for purposes of accountability, for purposes of checks and balances, so the public can give feedback to the local authorities in terms of what projects are being implemented. So I just thought I should, Chair, highlight these innovative approaches that are helping us to enhance the monitoring and supervision mechanism from the headquarters, but also to ensure that our provincial local government officers are also tracking those tools. But I was sad, Honorable Chair, to understand, coming from the disaster management perspective myself, that we have regional coordinators in the Office of the Vice President of the Disaster Management, and these regional coordinators are capacitated, they have vehicles. But our provincial local government officers don't have vehicles, so how do we expect them to monitor, to track, and to find out exactly what is going on there if they'll have to depend on a ride from another office? So we will indeed engage the Treasury, we will indeed engage the system and ensure that we can capacitate them not just with vehicles but also with the necessary tools to enhance this monitoring and supervision system. So at this point, Honorable Chair, in terms of ambulances, what I do know as I'm settling down, Honorable Chair, is that they are being procured through the window of ZAMSA. And so far 47 ambulances have been received, and the remaining ambulances are expected to be received in just over 2 months. So by the 31st of May, there's been a commitment that the remaining ambulances should be delivered. I submit, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much for those responses. May I also now give chance to Honorable Kamondo as we wind up ST to ask some questions.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for according me this chance to ask some few questions on points of clarifications. But I want to say that indeed, actually, the Secretary to the Treasury has answered most of the questions that you wanted to ask. However, I want to put up some more points of clarifications. Sitting actually in this committee, listening from most of the councils over the statutory obligations, most of them here have alluded actually this as being a historic debt. So, meaning that when someone admits that, it means that they are not ready to pay. I want to find out from you, what measures are you putting in place, or are you discussing at the highest level to make sure that we see a time when these local councils or local authorities coming to a zero rate, especially with NAPSA? You may be aware and you may agree with me that about 6.5 billion is being owed to NAPSA. So when the local councils come before this committee, they allude this to the historic debt, meaning that they are not ready to pay. And also you have also talked about some measures that you are putting in place, like you said further, a capacity building initiative to equip the local authorities and how to handle this, the revenue, also to come up with revenue sources and see how they can manage to have their local revenue actually enhanced. Most of the councils that have come before this committee, others have confessed that they don't have any means and ways to make sure that they raise these funds. And having confessed that, it also shows that this measure that you are doing may not actually succeed, because they have confessed before this committee that they don't have actually these sources of income. And this has led actually to most of these councils as dipping their hands in the local government equalization funds. They've gone ahead actually to borrow a lot of funds, and most of them actually they are not even able to pay back. And they've not been even able to give actually a payment plan when they wish to pay back this money. And also, I wanted you maybe to give us another assurance. Having worked as a chairman on government assurances, I think we depend on giving comfort to the people of Zambia, which you have done. And you have said that actually this year is a year of implementation. But most of these councils were given a lot of chance so that at least they change, the mindset is changing. But we have seen that most of these councils are not changing. There is a lot of abuse which is going through the councils, which admittedly you have heard actually from most of these members. And now you have also challenged the members of parliament that we have a situation where people, which the president also talked to, how can someone get a loan and fail to pay back, even if it is at the very lowest interest rate? And the president actually has spoken and told the members of parliament, this time around, you members of parliament, you have to engage yourselves so that you make sure that you also take the lead. However, previously, we have suffered a lot of actually discouragement. Members of parliament have been abused. Members of parliament have been condemned because of the works of the council through some of the areas that the members of parliament have talked about. Even when we are being rated, we have been there actually trying to encourage these workers from the councils, but they don't seem to understand. But the blame still goes to members of parliament. Yes, we are going to take the challenge, but what is it that you are going to tell these people that are failing, and they've even said that we don't have any other sources of income? What message do you have through you? And I would like to have that answer coming from the PS. I know he's going there in the councils for this is his first time, but what message is there that you are going to send? I know many people are listening to this very important actually program. Then the last one may be, in terms of abuse, through you, this one goes to the PS local government. Our council employees have gone further to start giving out bursaries and skills to their own relatives, leaving the most vulnerable people. I got this report myself, and I didn't sit down. I decided to say, oh, yes, these names have been approved by the provincial local government officer, but that one, we want to go through them. We went through, and we did find that 17 names of the beneficiaries didn't come from Mufumbwe, but they came from different places. You know, you may agree with me, the guidelines are very clear. This person should be a resident in that area and that constituency. But now they've gone further, because Mufumbwe is so vast, they would go further in those furthest wards to purport like those people are coming from the furthest ward. Now, to such officers, what message do you have for them who can go on giving out these skills, giving themselves diploma courses for 3 years to their husbands, wives, and their closest relatives, some of them who don't live in Mufumbwe? I think it's quite emotive, but I think that we can do better than this as a country, because these monies are well meant for the people. And indeed, I would like to agree with Honorable Mitete. I personally wouldn't want this CDF actually to be stopped or to be reduced. But what measures do you think now, what message and assurance are you going to give to this committee, as well as the people of Zambia, that this type of abuse should not be tolerated? And just a comment on people, the local councils are being audited. All the documents are not there when the auditors go there. The moment the auditors leave, they resubmit them that no, we have actually in our submission. Should we treat that one as genuine, or we treat it as, I don't know what we can treat it. What message you have to such people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another emotive submission. ST, you can respond to that, then I will also make some comments as a conclusion. Some were directed to PS local government. you can delegate or you can ask your colleagues to help you respond to those comments that have come from Honorable Member from Fumbwe.
Thank you, Chair. Let me make some comments and I will ask the PS to add on. When we go into these institutions, if there is a Mfumbwe Council, it doesn't matter who's the council secretary or the town clerk. Those are just individuals. The position and the debt will accrue to that council. Two things that we can, first and foremost, in 2002, we did the local government debt management strategy. And we had a meeting at Pamo's Hotel, and I did address that. And in that strategy, we guided the councils what should be done for us to dismantle that local government debt. We did guide. And we expect that the councils and the colleagues from Ministry of Local Government are following through that, and we achieve that strategy. But we would appreciate and understand if they say we don't have the money to service the previous debt, and let's agree on how we do it. But let's stop the bleeding. Going forward, let us be current. Then we can say, yes, we are at least now having a solution because we have stopped bleeding. But you cannot say, I cannot pay the debt. In the meanwhile, I will continue. So one of the challenges we have again is this one size fits all. So we decide and we say for a council, we should have this structure. For the town, we should have this structure, the numbers and everything, without looking at what work is there, what effort should be done, and how can we do it. We go and fill those positions. That is one of the issues, and this is one of the issues we'll be sitting with our colleague, Local Government Service Commission, because we need to find a solution. The truth of the matter is that there is this bleeding. And obviously, according to the law, you have got a constitutional and statutory obligation. Constitutional is servicing the debt, statutory is paying me salaries, and that takes precedence over everything else. And you need to pay. You cannot say you won't pay. But the question is, if we cannot afford to pay, why are we recruiting? Why can't we have a small size that we can afford to pay? We grow the cake, have more money, and then use that money to recruit the others. Which one comes first? And every person says, is it a chicken or an egg? But the best thing is we go with a small size that we can afford, grow the economy, and then we can be able to fill up. And I have a lot of complaints, even from the line ministry. I had a discussion with the police during the budget hearing, and they told me they needed to recruit. And I said, I've got no problem. They told me they needed to buy vehicles. I said, I've got no problem. Then I asked them, how many vehicles do you want to buy? They told me they needed to buy probably 1,000 vehicles. How many vehicles do you have? They told me they have got 900 and something. And I asked them, do you have fuel for the vehicles you have? No, we don't have money for fuel. So even when you buy new vehicles, if you don't have money for fuel for the vehicles you have, what is the purpose of buying the new vehicles? Why don't we optimally use, using Dr. Mwanza's ways, why don't we optimally use the resources we have so that we can grow the economy and we'll be able to buy? We went through the next stage where we were saying, no, we needed to buy uniforms. And I said, okay, you need to buy uniforms, okay? How many police officers you have? They gave me the number. How much budget do you need for a uniform? They gave me. And I did the calculation on the computer in a meeting. And the figure came out that the uniform was going to cost 76,000. I said, is this true that you want to buy a uniform costing 76,000? And they looked at themselves and said, how long have you been asking to buy this uniform? 3 years. Have you bought it? No. Why? Because money is not there. I said, if you had put the realistic number of optimization, we could have probably bought uniforms in year 1, year 2, year 3. By now we would have had uniforms. So we just need to do that. We need to look at that. If a councillor says, me, I don't have any revenue, they want to depend on the Treasury, they don't want to look wide. Those are not the right people. Those are the people who are saying, can we remove them? When I went for tour in Chile in 2013, we went to tour the mining operation. Codelco is a government company that has got a chief executive, and the board of directors are ministers. At the beginning of the year, the chief executive of Codelco says, here is my plan that I need to achieve. And they give them a performance contract against what you want to achieve, how he's going to achieve, and the resources is required. They give him. At the end of the year, he takes himself. If he fails to achieve, he doesn't wait for someone. He doesn't go and appeal to the president. He doesn't appeal to the ministers. If he fails to meet the benchmark, they fire him. And this is the reason. At the time that we started mining, Zambia and Chile were mining at the same level. Chile today is mining 5 million tons. Zambia, we are still at the same level. Now we are going above what we were mining in 1964, 1972 when we took over the mines. Because there was discipline in the Chilean. The board of directors were government ministers. They introduced discipline. If we introduced discipline in the council, it should be a performance benchmark. If you don't have any ideas, stay out. There are 20 million Zambians. Most of them more intelligent than us, but they haven't had the opportunity. We can give them the opportunity. They will grow this economy better than us, and therefore we can move. The blame on MPs, of course, they will always blame you. But if we work together and it works, I'm sure you'll be the first one to be praised, even before they praise the PS. So the best thing, they always say that success has got many fathers, failure has none. When it fails, it's the MP. When it succeeds, all of us will be saying we are part of that success. So let us succeed and see whether all of us would be fair. These council employees that are abusing, I can assure you, if you give me the names today, and this information is there, they will lose their job next week, and we'll publish it so that each one of the people would know that that should not be done. And we'll then immediately institute a forensic audit, so that whoever does this, because this is betrayal of the trust that we have in them. Why should they put their relatives on there? It's betrayal of the trust. But also, I know that some constituencies are vast and it is very difficult to know who is coming from where. Probably this is a lesson that we should put a self-checking mechanisms, but also a tracing mechanism even after this is done, so that it is not dependent on someone reporting, but is dependent on the system that will check even when we do that. Probably that is one of the issues that we put. How do we put in self-checking mechanisms? How do we put in track and trace and what do they call it? Track and trace to make sure that the people that we wanted to benefit will benefit. Because once we reduce poverty, we are going to increase productivity. Once we increase productivity, we are going to increase GDP. Once we increase GDP, we are going to create more money, and we are going to create jobs. I always tell my colleagues in the Ministry of Finance, we are lucky that we have got these jobs out of 20 million Zambians. But we should, each one of us should aspire that we will create an additional job so that someone takes it. If we sit on the way, then we are not supposed to be in this position. Other people should come and grow this economy. And my dream is that at the end of the day, we'll be the people that will grow this economy, and so that our children can take up a better economy and they start shining like other countries will be able to do. So thank you very much, and I'll ask my colleague to follow. Just one point that I wanted, project monitoring. Now, we normally have this mentality that project monitoring is the Land Cruiser. You need to go and check what the project is doing there and everything. In 2013, I was privileged to travel to Malaysia for benchmarking. And the Malaysians were implementing the 10th national plan. The project monitoring was not done by government officials. Government officials sat in their offices, received the reports, monitored the projects in their offices. If the project is off tangent, they got consultants to go and fix what the problem was. But for us, government officials go for project monitoring. I talk to my colleagues in Accountant General and Control of Internal Audit. And when they go to Mumfumbwe, they'll end up in township. Then they'll ask the local people there, the auditors or the accountants, give us the report. Then they will write a report. They were supposed to be there for 10 days, they are there for 3 days. They come home, they pack their vehicles, they come to the office after 10 days, they produce a report. Who has done the project monitoring? It is the local people there. So again, we are saying, how do we put systems in place so that we do monitor the project on the system? We have got Smart Zambia. We know we have got challenges in some constituents where there is no network, but we can be able to put systems in place that can collect that information, interface with the systems, and here in Lusaka, people should be able to see what is happening. Only when there is a problem, or periodically someone can be able to go and do monitoring, and therefore will not require all these vehicles we are talking about. The other thing is, if you go to South Africa, for instance, you will never see a government vehicle. Because what they do, if it is a vehicle for monitoring, you will do it once in a quarter. Instead of you buying a vehicle, start maintaining, employ a driver and everything. If you go to a car hire and hire that vehicle for monitoring, what will be the cost? But you'll be creating a job for the person in the car hire. You'll be creating income. They'll be paying taxes. They will be paying income tax. They will be paying VAT. And therefore, the economy will grow. But for us, we have this. If you go in most of these institutions, even in Ministry of Finance, I must confess, you'll find a lot of vehicles parked. In the meantime, every day I'm receiving requests, we don't have vehicles, we need to buy new vehicles. Because when the director or the accountant general sees a new vehicle on the thing, I need to drive that vehicle, they go and make a report that they need a vehicle, so that they buy the new vehicle that they have seen. And some of the vehicles, a small thing, a fuse blows out, the vehicle is parked. Next time you'll be told that the vehicle needs. So these are all the reforms we are looking at. How do we make sure that we have got optimization, to borrow the words that Dr. Mwanza used? How do we make sure that we optimize the resources we have and we channel the little resources to productive areas so that we invest and grow this economy? We project that all things being equal, in 2025, we can grow the economy probably around 6.6%, and we continue with that growth. We saw when we had that growth from 2021 to 2011. Within that period, we graduated from a lower income to lower middle income country. When we are coming in 2021, we went back to a lower income. We are still a lower income. 2023, 2025, probably 2026, we should be able to graduate again, and what we should say is we should sustain this so that we become a prosperous middle-income country as per our Vision 2030. But let me ask my colleague, the PS local government, if he has some comments to add. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, PS, you can make some responses.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think mine is just to respond to two key issues. The Secretary to the Treasury has indeed touched upon many of the issues that have been raised. The first one is on the issue of outstanding statutory obligations in the local authorities. And I think we've already started having this conversation with the Secretary to the Treasury through the Accountant General. We've had a meeting just this week with NAPSA, for example, and it was established that of the 6.5 billion outstanding debt, only about 518 million is actual principal amount. The rest is penalties. So again, that shows you that there's scope for local authorities to manage this amount, because it's not a juggernaut amount like the 6.3 billion that's been reported. So what are we doing as a Ministry of Local Government? We have, for example, understood the underlying drivers of a lack of adherence to dismantling of these outstanding arrears. And as the Secretary of Treasury indicated, how do we stop the bleeding? We recognize that obviously one of the key issues there is if you look at the pie chart in terms of the revenue sources for local authorities, you see that on-source revenue is negligible, if at all there's any, so it's little to none, essentially. So we have recognized the lack of broad-based revenue source for the local authorities. So that has been enhanced for now through the ensuring that all the councils now become rating authorities, and they're updating their valuation rules. And through updating the valuation rules, they can now collect property rates. So it's really incumbent upon the local authorities themselves. And I think using the model of the carrot and stick will encourage them to ensure that they enforce the collection of property rates in order to broaden their revenue base for local authorities. And I think as they begin to broaden the revenue base, we will see that there'll be diminution in terms of a lack of adherence to statutory obligations. So I thought I should quickly address that. And the Honourable Member of Parliament for Mufumbwe, who asked about what message is the government sending to erring officers, and I think that has been addressed quite aptly by the Secretary to Treasury, and also saying if this data is available, these officers will face the stick even as early as next week. And we want to reinforce that commitment that the Secretary of Treasury has given, and that is to say that we will, as the local government, champion this initiative to ensure that officers that are erring face the punishment that is due to them, and those officers that do well receive the incentives for doing so. So I thought that I should just maybe add those two key points, and thank you very much, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, ST and Accountant General, Controller of Audit, and PS and the team. It has been a wonderful interaction, ST. I want to mention that it's quite encouraging when we get comfort from you. But the question that the Zambian people have, are we the people to change the status quo? For us to make meaningful change, ST, we need to agree that something is wrong in local government. And this message goes to the PS and the team. Something is not okay in the local government, especially the management of resources and general management that is taking place in local authorities. We have seen a weakness, ST, in the office of the provincial local government officer. The provincial local government officers, they need capacitation. One of them is mobility. But apart from that, which you may be addressing, we need to go back and ensure that we indicate to them the expectation of that office. From the time that external auditors started auditing councils, that is the office of the Auditor General, PROGO's offices have been rendered redundant. There's nothing. And yet when you look at their terms of reference and also the responsibilities and duties, they're still there. All these weaknesses we are seeing in the councils, ST, if the office of the provincial local government officer was doing a correct thing, these queries could have been minimized. These queries could have been reduced. We could have been looking at outstanding obligations, staff obligations, not these issues of missing payment vouchers. So, speaking to the PS of local government, through the PS, I would like to speak to the province, to the Director, Local Government Administration. This is the main office. Is the department doing enough to ensure that these problems, before they come to the eyes of the auditors, are known by the ministry, the PS of local government, through his office? The weaknesses in these councils, in the 116 councils, before they come to the office of the Auditor General, the PS should have had an idea, because the Director, Local Government Administration, through PROGOs, could have sniffed to see the weaknesses. We have given examples here. The whole nation is watching, and they're following us. If you follow the page, Parliament page, this committee, issues that are taking place. One of the issues I've mentioned, ST, is the issue of 4.6 million in Kabwe, in Kapiri, I mean. For it to appear, they did not steal this money at once. This money was not stolen at once. But where was the system, ST? Where was the internal audit at Kapiri Council? Is it true the principal officer was not aware? Those are the questions that beg answers. So systems have collapsed. Before people steal even 2,000, a theft is a theft. It goes to 4.6 million. Local government equalization fund, money blessed by this government. Can you utilize it? They're stealing. Now it goes a big figure. The whole nation is alarmed. We have a case of Kalumbila Council building a hotel, ST. We want to ask you, through your office, take interest. In 2020, a hotel which was first procured at 68 million, a procurement committee increased it to 75 million. Without following procedure, single sourcing a supplier. The same supplier, before he finishes, they do again a variation of 18 million for furniture, single sourced, the same supplier. Then again, there is a story that they have again, before even finishing this hotel, they are even trying to add another 46 million. Where is the system? Where is the system? We only have this country to save. SD, your passion for this country, we need more people like you. But we can only have them, they are around, the moment we start doing the correct things. All erring officers should be dealt with decisively. In other nations, most of them could have been facing jail. But we are transferring them from one council to another. And officers charged to monitor these councils are getting paid by public resources, justifying their presence and yet not doing anything. Is that what we desire for our nation? There are so many, this committee. You see the emotions when they're making presentations. You got the emotions from the MPs. It tells you a lot of things. Enough is enough. Order must return to local government. That's why earlier I said, we welcome Dr. Pauline. And let us help him to bring order in the local government. And this committee is ready to help in that direction. The issues to deal with the three principles that the president has told us in project management. First, right price, quick delivery, and good quality. There is no one in the local government system who has taken these issues serious. Hence, monies are being mopped back to the Treasury. If we follow this, as Dr. Mwanza indicated, monies are there. Every officer is present in that particular council to do his job. These monies cannot be mopped up. What are the reasons for mopping up the money? Officers are busy working in workshops. And you note PS, local government and everyone there. If there is a workshop for Southern Province, they will take it to Chipata. If there is a workshop for Eastern, they will take it to Lusaka or Northwestern. What are the reasons behind? Because they know if a workshop takes place in Chasefu, they will not get an allowance. So we asked the Minister of Local Government to take interest on these funders of workshops. There's no justification. We worked in councils, workshops were taking place. Not the way the things are happening now, ST. No. Honorable Mutero indicated 95% of your time you are attending workshops, 5% you are working. Can we develop this country? Are we helping our president? Are we helping our government? The answer is no. There is no justification to this. So let the officers spend their time in councils. Before your time, you were there, Honorable Nkurukosa. You cannot go for a workshop without clearance from the PS local government. You cannot. You cannot go for a workshop without clearance from the provincial local government officer. So as we are lamenting about these workshops, who is to blame? Who authorizes them? It's the same as us. So let us check ourselves what we are doing if we are to help this country. These officers are employed to work. When they are coming here to appear before this committee, the one who makes a presentation is a town clerk and the council secretary, who is not even privy of the projects that are taking place. He comes to read. No wonder they come here, you ask them one question, they start asking their officers. They are blank because they are not sitting at their places of work. If a chief officer is aware about the projects taking place, he will be able once in a while to go and check. They will be able to answer. Next week we are starting the CDF. ST, take interest. You see how they will be struggling. They are not there. They are attending workshops. The people who deal with auditors are junior officers. And if you look at some of these, you would suspect there is sabotage. Because how do these documents resurface after audit? Because the junior officers do not attend workshops, their senior officers are busy working around where there is an allowance, leaving the juniors who do not get anything to attend to serious issues of audit. They hide these documents. Those who are attending workshops are the ones who are going to answer. So let us bring sanity. As you have indicated, no officer should be allowed to travel when there is an audit taking place. Until everything is done, the PS should not allow that officer. Not only the chief officer, all the people responsible, directors of finance, auditors, and everyone. One auditor came and told us, no, I did not audit those documents. For the entire year 2023, we were preparing to attend to this committee. That was an answer, just like that. And if you may wish to know, they have taken these meetings as a way of fundraising. You take interest, they will not deal with audit issues. Because some of them you wonder, are these queries that are supposed to be? But because they know that once they have zero audit, they will not have allowances to travel to come and respond. 10 days each one. How many are they? For instance, that 10, 15. How much has gone? One mentioned about Charimbana, the vice chairperson. As I'm speaking to you, they are in Charimbana, some of them. Why should we have that? We employ competent and qualified people. 10 years in the position, they don't know how to. The best way to respond to audit queries is by doing the correct thing. Why should the government spend the money training people how to respond? This side, the president is saying, utilize the monies prudently. Then they are doing the opposite, contrary to the policy. Then we as a government, through the ministry, we go and teach them how to respond to the same issues. What do we mean? When this committee says stop the Chalimbana meetings, yesterday I was with my brother for Ron. He was receiving a message that they want to go to Chalimbana, and he refused to say not under CDF. I said, my brother, you're a patriot. So as members of parliament, I'll be reluctant to allow money on CDF account to be spent to go and camp in Chalimbana to respond to queries which they could have avoided if we were doing the correct thing. So we say no to the Chalimbana training how to answer queries. We want to encourage the ministry to make them accountable. If they cannot deal with these issues, there are regulations. Then they should stop. They should leave the local government. The other issue is that why chief officers fail to respond, apart from most of them, some of them try, apart from just apologizing, is because they don't sit even in CDF meetings. If we are the way, we are going to suggest that these chief officers, they should know what is happening in CDF. There is no way a town clerk, a council secretary, does not sit there. No wonder now we have people recruited who are not members of Mfumbwe. They are the ones benefiting monies. So if there was a way of reform, let chief officers also be part of the CDF committees. How do they come here to be responding to issues which they are not even participating in, just being given reports? Members of parliament, ST, they are not like for myself, maybe my friends. When you talk about the dashboard, I start wondering, what are you talking about? And this is a very critical issue that you are training them about. MPs should know about those tools you are putting in place to monitor CDF, to deal with those. But there's nothing that comes to the MPs. How do we know? How do we move with our officers? I've heard about from my officers about this dashboard. Is there any plan by the ministry to come and tell, to also train members of parliament, so that we are moving, not this one is pulling this direction, this one is pulling in that direction. The other issue ST should take interest on CDF is the issue of colleges. These colleges are charging exorbitant fees, skills training, apart from secondary schools which have uniform fees. Colleges have mushroomed all over in our corridors. Any corner there's a college. And that college will charge a lot of money on one student. If you look how much these councils are paying for each student for skills training, and check how much these children or these students of ours, they are benefiting. If it comes to meals, the monies we are paying is not commensurate to the meals that they are getting. As a government should take interest. As a Minister of Law Government, take interest. Very soon, the whole money will be going to a few number of students. There's no regulation. So the government should find a way of regulating the fees charged by colleges. And do these colleges meet the standard that are prescribed by government or TVET standards? And does government go round to check? It's a pity at certain point the ministry stopped the monitoring of these students by councils. Me, I've told my council, go and monitor. We cannot be paying for people we don't even know they're there. Once in a while, go and check whom we're paying for. So I would like to appeal through UST to the Minister of Law Government to take interest in this. As I wind up the other issue, although it's not part of this, good policies by government. I salute the President as a member of this committee, the cash for work. I was trying to speak to the ST, to the Minister of Law Government. Cash for work is being abused. Just as CDF, by the time you realize the abuse that is taking place, this good policy of cash for work, get it from me. The way CDF is being abused, the intended people who are supposed to be picked in this cash for work are not the ones who are picked. Those charged with responsibility are picking from their homes. Is that the desire of government? The answer is no. In some of our constituencies, AST and PS, which are on the borderline, they are recruiting our colleagues, us and the Malawians, some people of NRC. They get them, put them cash for work. The actual people who do the work, they are less than 30. When they are supposed to recruit 80 per polling station, only you find 2015 are recruited. But the list that is being paid, if you check the councils, do a physical check, you find that the monies are not going to the people intended who are working. So I wanted to take advantage of this. We should be monitoring these policies that are put in place so that we help our president achieve what he wants to achieve for this country. Some of the people are not being paid after having worked. I will not shy to indicate that I have directed the removal of 5 WDCs. They are out because of doing wrong things. Because all these policies bring commerce, bring a lot of benefits, economic benefits, if well implemented. CDF, cash for work, all these things will uplift the living standard of our people in our constituencies. So if we do quality jobs under CDF, like my friend said, each member of parliament will tell you what CDF has done. It has changed the faces of these constituencies. But we need to do more. It's an issue of management. So I wanted to add my voice to what they have said, so that ST, you help local authorities. You have done very well in the releases of Local Government Equalization Fund. Equally, the ministry is doing very well. There is no much problem. But are we managing these resources prudently? So we are starting our CDF interactions. We have made it a point, ST. No officer will come here with the same things. You head the vice chair. Are we going to continue? We have limited authority as a committee. But we have said we are Zambians, besides being members of this committee. We cannot continue seeing business as usual, things going wrong. So we want the Minister of Law Government to be alert. No one will have an excuse. Much money has been poured in the councils under CDF by our beloved president. We want prudent utilization and the proper projects coming up for the benefit of the people of our constituencies, the people of Zambia. So we shall be tough within our mandate as a committee. And those who are being transferred from this council, we are not going to allow that I'm transferred. We are not going to allow that council to appear until they bring that person, subpoena them to appear and answer. And immediately tell the PS Law Government, tell you and the commission, this person demote in our own way. Demote these officers. We have only one Zambia that belongs to us. Political will, we have the best ever. So we should be the people to bring the change that the Zambians desire. And the way you have promised us that you starting this year punishing, we shall be helping you. We shall whisper to you the way we have promised the PS. As for the PS local government, please, you have our support with your fellow PSPD and our minister. We shall help you as this committee on local government to weed out those who are not ready to work. We shall raise alarm even before you get it. We shall help you so that we put corrective measures. With that said, I want to say you can respond to them. Most of the things have been said. You have responded to them. You can respond to what you feel you can from what I've said. But I was just giving a summary and also other issues that have emerged from our discussion. So with that said, may I allow you to make some comments, also PS local government, whoever. But all in all, we thank you for this appearance.
Thank you very much, Chair, and indeed these are very emotive issues. Probably let me start with the question of are we the right people to bring the change? Late President Chiruba said that the darkest hour is just before dawn. When it is very dark, just know that it is dawn. We are hoping that it is dark now and dawn will be tomorrow. But with the political will, with the commitment from you as members of parliament and from the team that we are working with, we believe that we can bring this change. The Kalumbila issue is an issue that has just come to my attention now, and I will make sure that we follow it through and we make sure that appropriate actions are taken should we find that there is some connivance or mismanagement of the resources. What we know is that the procurement has got a threshold beyond which you cannot vary. It should be within the threshold. And we see that if these variations are going through, they are not within the threshold. But I always get surprised when people always want to do single sourcing. Again, I'll give you an example. When I was the chair of the Central Tender Committee before we decentralized, we were procuring fertilizer under the FISIP, Farmer Import Support Program. And colleagues came and said that there was one company that was qualified and they wanted to single source. And as chair of that committee, I said we are not going to single source. And for 3 months, they were not bringing the papers for us to do a competitive bid because they wanted single sourcing. And that time I was PS, and the late Excellence Michael Sata was president. And they went to State House and reported me that I was frustrating the PF government. At that time, MMD was the party that had just come from power and it was strong, and that I was MMD, this is why I was refusing. Fortunately enough, the late president called me to State House and asked me why I was refusing, if this is the company that had the... And I told the president, I said, I totally agree, this is the company that has got the capacity. If it has got the capacity to win, let's subject them to competition. And he asked me, how long does competition take? I told President Sata that it takes 6 weeks. And he tells me, and I told him, 3 months we have been arguing. Within 1.5 months, we could have finished this. And he told me, go ahead and do the competitive bid and bring the report within 3 weeks. We did the competitive bid. This same company won the tender, but they reduced the price by $25 million. Because now they knew it was competition. If they put the price they had given us under single sourcing, they were going to lose. They reduced, and I went to the President and I said, here's what I saved just by bringing this competition, 6 months. We had a challenge again with the local government, procurement of chiefs' houses, construction. 118 days and counting, the procurement was not done. The report in cabinet, procurement processes are complicated, we can't procure. And when it was brought up, and again, with the political will of the president, I asked Mr. President, I said, Mr. President, give me 1 week. Let me go and sit down with local government to establish where the problem is. And I was allowed. I came and sat down with the local government. I brought the ZPPA. I asked ZPPA, how long will it take to do a procurement? They told me 46 days. Means of local government, how long was it taken? 118 days and counting. Now, let's go step by step. Where did we miss it? And we found that all the processes where we were not going, it was not because the procurement rigidities, it was because of interested officers that were blocking. And I asked them, now we have known. The two PSs that were there said, let's sit down. Now we have known. How long will it take us to do the procurement? Within 6 weeks, we did the procurement. It was the same thing with the means of education and everything. So sometimes it's these rigidities of people. And this is why we are saying we have put the system in place, we have trained everyone, we think it's now time to move. And those that don't want to move, again, there is a saying that says, everything changes. The only thing that remains constant is change itself, because it's always there. But everything will change. And I'm sure that these people should be able to start getting into this. Regulating fees charged by colleges. Again, it's one of the things that we'll be able to discuss. We should be able to say the maximum we can sponsor per student is so much. If the student wants to go to a college that is higher than the maximum we can sponsor, they should look for the difference. Otherwise, they should go to the college that we should be able to sponsor. So we'll be talking with our colleagues and try to see how best we can use these resources. But just to appeal that when we are putting these resources, when we're putting a grant, when we're going bursaries, when we're putting CDF loans, we want to empower the people in your constituencies. And it should be your right and responsibility to ensure that that empowerment happens. When it is abused, it means you are denying the same people that voted for you, probably because they were not connected. But it should also be clear that if this is done, and I hope in the regulation is there, that there should be interest declaration that you cannot support. I was working for the World Bank. I cannot, as a person who is working for the World Bank, bring my wife to work for the World Bank or my children or anyone else. I have to declare interest. The fact that I'm working for the World Bank, it doesn't mean that we are breaching on their rights. But the issue is that there will be compromise. So again, we'll be looking at our regulations and guidelines. If they don't allow that, we should make sure that we avoid that, to make sure that the ordinary Zambians, the Zambians that want development, the Zambians that went to vote and voted so that we can have a regime that brings development, are the ones that should benefit, not us. If my child has to go to school, I have privileged, they already gave me a job. Let me take my child from the job. And we assist that parent who has no job, and because they couldn't give the job of ST to two people. But if I'm so selfish that me I've given a job, my child also should. It means we are encouraging generational poverty, perpetual poverty. And if it happened to like that for some of us, me, I came from the village. If the people that were there were to reason like that, then I wouldn't even have been ST. I would have been in the village, probably looking after cattle, probably married to 3-4 women, because that is the fashion there. But now I have been given an opportunity, and it is my duty to make sure that every person that has got the capability, that should be able to go to school, should go to school. And this is why the president talked about free education, so that we can equalize. We cannot have perpetual people that are poor and perpetual people that are rich, but we can have an equalizer and move together. Only then will we then be able to achieve our objective, because growth comes from the middle income. The rich people have money, they have already put them in their basket. But the middle income, the more they make money, those are the ones that want to buy new cars, those are the ones that want to buy fridges, those are the ones that want to build, and as they are building, those are the ones that will buy cement from Lafarge, and Lafarge sells the cement, they declare taxes to ZRA. This is how growth is. How do we build this middle class income that will be able to come, and not follow the perpetual route of saying this is poor, this is rich, and this is why the president declared this. So I want to thank you, Chair and the members, for the encouragement, and I want to commit to you that 2025 is the year of implementation. Those that want to follow, we think we have done a lot of teaching, we'll be able to follow. We'll be sitting down with our colleagues from the Office of the Auditor General. Probably we should also even have a calendar where the Auditor General will tell us to say this is how they are going to do, and at the level of the Secretary to the Cabinet, probably then a circular is issued so that should someone don't attend the audit meetings, that they then have breached the provisions of the circular, and that disciplinary measures shall be taken against them. Thank you very much once again. And we are very grateful to appear before you, and we are hoping that when we come for the next appearance, there will be better and improved reporting, even from the councils. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ST. As I said, most of them were comments for take home. And as I said, assuring the PS local government, we shall support you. The cash for work take interest. Instead of people, they are paying to be recruited. For them to have a form ST, these monies you give them as administrative cost, they are not giving these forms to the people to be registered on. Now, they are going around to the same people who are supposed to benefit 600 kwacha. For you to get stationed, can you pay 30 kwacha? Pay 10 kwacha. That money is not accounted for. So when we go around as members of parliament, we see a good policy of government being affected. We feel sad. That's why we are there. So we want to appeal through the PS's office to take interest on the cash for work. Those who are charging people to be registered should stop. Every month, let the Minister of Local Government know who has not been paid for the work done. Most of them have worked, not paid. Some of them December, November, they're not cleared. So it is building anger. We worked, and the officers charged to correct these things. So I wanted to emphasize that, so that our people see that we have a good government that cares for them. With that said, I want also to mention that there's just the way I said to the Minister of Local Government when they appeared and the Commission, that we are happy, ST, the support that you give to this committee. We are being supported by permanent witnesses from AG's office, from your office, Office of the Controller of Audit. They are always here, guiding this committee. Office of the Accountant General, they are always here. We want you to continue sending them, because whatever is coming from this committee is coming because of the technical support that we receive from these offices, local government, commission, audit, and all the offices. Please continue sending them to support these committees under Parliament, especially this local government accounts committee. I will be happy if their support is supported even with something. Because when we are chewing ourselves, they start languishing. So it doesn't look well. But I know you have a very good ST. We have known you for being a good man together with Pauline. You look into their welfare, so that as they sit here, they are somewhat motivated. I know they have not told me. They are wondering that why it is Nyambose saying. I said this to the Auditor General when we went to the other place where the workshop, that these people, please do not let Auditor General's office stop auditing councils. These are critical. Look at where we are going. This is the main office. They're quite independent. So they need support. With that said, ST, I would like to thank you once again with your entourage. It's been a wonderful interaction. Long interaction, but worth it. All of us, both parties, who have picked something. The Zambian people are watching. They know that there are people who are determined to work for the country. And I'm sure most of them are happy. Those who are not happy are those who are doing wrong things. We have no personal issues against anyone. But those wrongdoers should not be allowed to continue in the system. With that said, I would like to say the immunity that was given unto you is now withdrawn. From now on, PS and your entourage, you are on your own. ST, with your entourage, the immunity is withdrawn. From now on, as you go back, you are on your own. We want to encourage you to continue working very hard. Your works are seen and are being felt under difficult times. But because of your good leadership, the country is moving very well. With that said, I would like to wish you well as you go back to your offices and continue working for Mother Zambia. We are humbled and thank you very much.
The Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Nkulukusa, making an appearance before the Committee on Local Government Accounts. The Committee on Local Government Accounts was considering the reports of the Auditor General on the audit of the accounts of local authorities for the financial year ended 31st December 2023. And the Committee of Local Government Accounts actually started receiving submissions from councils countrywide on the 20th of January this year. So today, the committee has received its last submission from the Secretary to the Treasury, that's Mr. Felix Nkulukusa. And so, would like to thank you for following the proceedings regarding the Local Government Accounts Committee. It's been sitting since the 20th of January this year, and for your viewership. Remember to join us at 14:30 for live parliamentary. Until then, it's bye-bye. Constituency